Hello.
But
Show.
yeah, that sounded. I'd like to get into a lot of the stuff other than just the Sasquatch topic with you, but they're all
Sure.
kind of related anyway. But anyway, my name is Port Cunningham, and I'm here with the world's handsomest man, Frank Oliver Beans, and this is the Pork and Beans Show.
Hey, everybody.
We are joined today by John Stamey.
Microphone. I don't know what it is.
Oh, well, I mean, just use it as a prop.
I'm having microphone anxiety. I keep wanting to go, hello, everybody, but it doesn't work like that because it's not plugged in.
Okay, well, you sound all right. So, anybody wants a heap and helping of Pork and Beans, please like and subscribe to our Facebook channel, the Pork and Beans Group. I think we're almost up to 1,500 members now, aren't we, Mr. Beans? Just under, or are we over now?
Under 15.
What's that?
Just under 15.
Yeah, just a few under 15. And also like and subscribe to my YouTube channel. We've got every single episode of the Pork and Beans Show on there, and I think that's about 200 episodes now. And a bunch of my teachings from my clan and thoughts and teachings and stuff that I like to share. So thanks to everybody for watching. So Mr. Stamey, how are you doing today? We're waiting on Robin, by the way.
I'm doing great. I'm very happy to be here. It's an honor.
Well, thank you very much. So tell us a little bit about yourself. Give us some of your background, and then maybe how you got into some of these, interested in some of these supernatural topics.
Well, okay. I'm a former college professor. I got my doctorate at North Carolina State in computer science. I've got 60-some research publications.
Wow.
And when I was at NC State, I had gone over in the mid-90s to the Ryan Research Center, the Ryan Institute of Parapsychology, and they had tested me for some stuff, and I kind of tested super positive on some experiments they had, and I always wanted a chance to go back. So when I was at NC State, I just decided to spend the night, and the next day, because I wasn't teaching classes, I drove over to Durham and presented myself. I said, "Hey, I'm John Stamey," and I was part of a research project back with what was it, with Dr. John Palmer and Dr. Richard Broughton, who are very well known in the paranormal research community. So, and Sally Ryan Feather came out and she said, "Well, hello, I remember your name because they told me about you." I said, "Yeah, I'm sure they did." And I just joked around with her a little bit. She turned out to be one of the most charming and nicest people and became one of my very best friends. She's a nice lady. She's got her PhD in clinical psychology from Duke, and she continues the research of her father, Dr. J.B. Ryan, and her mother, Dr. Louisa Ryan. They were real pioneers in the world of ESP. In fact, Dr. Ryan invented and introduced the term ESP to the world, and it's something that we still use today. They also co-created the Zener cards. You know, those little cards that have the star, the square, the circle, the waves, and the triangle on them. Well, they helped create those, and they use those successfully to test people's ESP. Although I think there are other ways to test ESP other than the Zener cards. But anyway, there was a long and rich history, and she and I became very close friends. And I helped her with some research work for her book, The Gift, which was a New York Times bestseller. She likes people to write in and tell their, not exactly their paranormal stories, but their stories about ESP, their stories about dreams and things like that, and how they many times have come true. And I helped her edit some of those. It was a lot of fun, and I learned a lot. And I always liked that approach of having a research area like that. And one of my research areas is it's about kids who have had ghostly experiences. And I've had on my show, Scarycast, I've had my attorney. I've had friends that are professionals in town. You'd never know that they had ghost stories when they were kids. And that's when I really got interested in doing paranormal research. Then here's the funny thing. You want to hear a funny story? I love telling funny stories.
Absolutely.
I'd wanted to do a Bigfoot conference. I thought it would be cool. I didn't know anything about Bigfoot, but I just thought it'd be cool. So what I did was I put up a Facebook page called Georgia Bigfoot Conference. I said, well, you know, whatever, and I forgot about it. And then my buddy, Matt Delph, called me up one day. He said, you know, John, you got about 50 people liking that Georgia Bigfoot Conference page. I said, well, let's just see how it goes in the next month or so. And in the next month, you know, on Facebook, when you have a certain amount of likes, you start getting another quantity of likes. And so a month later, I had over 100 people liking, and I said, well, golly, maybe I better figure out how to put on a Bigfoot conference. So I called around, and Rabun County, Georgia, is the only one that acted like they were interested in it. Met a lovely lady on the phone named Annie Williams. And I told her that I have run a number of Comic-Cons, and it was essentially a Comic-Con, which means vendors and talks. That's the business model. So I went down there and I saw her facility, which was absolutely gorgeous, the Rabun County Civic Center. And so I just gave her a deposit, decided on a date, and we were off and running. And by the time we had the conference, we had 180 people show up. I thought that was pretty good, since I didn't know anybody in the Bigfoot world. But then, en route to the conference, about a month before, this lovely lady named Robin McCRAY called me up. She said, I've been trying to send you emails and I never get anything back. And I lied and I said, oh, I'm sorry, I just didn't get it. You know, I mean, she sounded so nice. And we started talking about Bigfoot, and she told me about Igor Burtsev. And 3 hours later, we were best friends. We still talk every day. She's one of the nicest people I've ever met. She's exactly like my sister. And her husband, Pat, is in the same category. They're some of the nicest people in the world. They're great friends, and I couldn't live without touching base with them every day. They're really like family. So we had 180 people. I was excited. The problem was we didn't have enough room for 180 people. So the nice lady, Stephanie, at the Rabun County Library right next door said, oh, why don't you just bring half of them over here? I said, that'd be 90 in each room. She said, well, yeah. I said, do you have chairs? She said, of course. And that's a deal that I made the day before the conference. So we split the conference into 2 sections. Every speaker got to speak twice. And it was just so much fun. Now, 6 years later, we had 508 people show up to the Georgia Bigfoot Conference at the Dillard House. We packed the place. It was the most fun. Everybody had a great time. And so that's kind of how I got my feet in the Bigfoot world. And I've met some of the nicest people ever. I met Jen Cruz, Jenna Grover of the She Squatchers. I've had them at a couple of my conferences. They're just so far away. They're in Minnesota, but I really like them. I met Matthew Delph. I've become very good friends with Matthew Delph. It's because of Bigfoot stuff that I ended up being one of the 2 people that I put on the Frogman Festival in Cincinnati, believe it or not. And with my partner, Jeff Craig, who is, again, one of the nicest people in the world. I go to UFO conferences. I'm putting on a UFO conference in September in Burnsville. We just had the North Carolina Bigfoot conference up there. It was a blast. I met the guys from Bigfoot 911. They are very good friends of mine now. So I've met, truly, I think this is the nicest and safest bunch of people I've ever met, is the group of people that are in the paranormal world that are messing around with Bigfoot conferences, going out and hunting for Bigfoot and this and that. And I'm not ashamed.
Oh, you're cutting out there, John. Something going on, maybe it's the internet.
I have seen about 20 times. And let's see, what else?
Hey, John, let me interrupt you and say that you actually met me in your first conference there in Clayton, Georgia.
Were you there?
I was there, yeah. I didn't speak, but that was when I did an interview behind the library there. I did an interview with Pat and Robin,
Yes, you did. I remember that now.
It was actually pretty good. It was a little crazy, but it was still really good.
Right, and I mean, oh, that's great. I'm so glad. So you know that the story I just told is true. We had to split it up.
Oh yeah, and all those people. I'm a friend with Matthew Dolph too, and all those people. So it was really a good thing. There's a lot of people in Georgia and in North Carolina who are, Sasquatch is big. So
it really is.
I'm surprised you're not getting 1,000 people showing up.
Well, you know what? I guess okay. Like we had it at the Dillard House. I still try to keep it down to $15 a person. But it's kind of expensive to go to one of these things now. Dillard House rooms are like $180. And the Holiday Inn there and all that, they're up $150. So I mean, it's expensive for people to get to, but people that come there really enjoy it. The vendors did great this last time, and so we started out the North Carolina Bigfoot Conference. It was kind of hard to promote because I'm doing it in a very small town, but it's a beautiful town called Burnsville, North Carolina, and we had about 100 people there. And everybody loved it. They loved the speakers. They loved the town. I won't say so much the restaurants, but maybe Burnsville needs to get some better restaurants. But they got a beautiful place called the Burnsville Town Center, and it's a lot of fun. And we're also going to have the Flying Saucer Comic-Con there, September the 16th. And then we've got the International Radionics Conference. That's going to be I think the 13th of January. It's Martin Luther King Jr. Saturday, because it's nice to put a conference. It's not a festival. It's not an outdoor festival. I run indoor conferences, and we know what the Ohio Bigfoot Conference has done. They have 1,000 people, and I'm hoping that one day Georgia Bigfoot Conference will have 1,000 people, and North Carolina Bigfoot Conference will have at least 500. Because that's about all that place will hold. And I don't want to move it from Burnsville because they've been so nice to me. The chamber is extremely supportive. So I enjoy what I do. And I have a daytime job, but this is my nighttime and weekend job. I love going to the Withville UFO Festival every year. It's just a lot of fun. So, I mean, I think, it's a wonderful, like Frank Capra said, I've got a wonderful life. Now I do. And I really enjoy the people I've met. I've enjoyed my Bigfoot experiences. I've enjoyed my UFO experiences. I have a roommate. Did you know that? He's the man. Hey, Robin.
Hi.
Yeah, I've got a roommate. His name is Mr. Mansfield, and he passed away about 7 months ago. And he got mad at me last night. He has a poster from the Tate Gallery, which is very nice. And I took it down and I put up my picture of Bahá'u'llah's son. Baha'u'llah is the creator and founder of the Baha'i faith. And that picture was given to me by Dan Seals' family, the great country singer, Dan Seals. In fact, his son, Jay, roomed with me for about 6 months. In Winston-Salem. And he told me that as long as I kept Baha'u'llah's son's picture, watching me, that nothing bad would happen. And it has truly saved me from a couple crazy things. When some people see it, they won't even come in the room. And one was a really crazy, very mean secretary that I had. She looked at the picture and she stepped back outside of my door. She said, "What's that?" I said, "That is Baha'u'llah's son. He is the founder of the Baha'i faith, which is like a Christian version of the Muslims." And she said, "Well, I don't feel comfortable coming in your office with that thing looking at me." You know what my answer was? Okay. So for the rest of the time she was there, I talked to her outside. She was outside my door. She wouldn't come. I wouldn't take it down. So, you know, I mean, and one time I had some problems, and it was because, and I realized the picture wasn't up. And I got it out from behind a chair and put it up. And so far, everything's been okay. So anyway, you know, I met some great people. I met Robin. In fact, Robin, I told everybody the story of how I met you. You and I talked on the phone before the Georgia Big Conference about Igor coming there. And we, I mean, you know, we've been talking every day since, pretty much.
Yep. Well, he said to me, like, we talked until like 2 a.m, I think it was. He called me about 10. We talked about 2. And at the end of the conversation, he said, you know, I think you know a lot about the Bigfoot. And I said, I do okay.
Well, I mean, I didn't know who Robin was, and it sounded like she knew a whole lot more than I did. So
I do okay.
We've just been buddies. Yeah.
So tell us about your conference. What range of speakers do you have?
Well, okay.
You know, I mean, there's, you know, they say there's, you know, I don't like to put anybody into a camp. That's kind of like categorizing people, but whatever, you know, like the typical, like 2 camps, the 8 camp and the paranormal camp. So do you have a mix of kind of both, and how do they coincide?
Well, we do. I just don't think that you can. I think the paranormal is a field. There's Bigfoot, there's UFOs, there's ghosts, there's radionics, there's all kinds of things.
Yeah.
And I've got a wide variety of friends, to be honest with you. And Robin will tell you, other than one person at this last conference, I was just good friends with everybody. And that guy and I have become very good friends, yeah. Tom Cordos. Tom's a great guy. And we have, okay, here's what we had. The best part of the conference was the wrap-up session where we have all the Scary Cast announcers. And we had all 6 of them. Well, we have one who's in Houston, Texas, and he couldn't be there. But we had Dr. Trey Dunaway, the surgeon. We had Dr. Brad Mulder, the radionics builder. We had Chris Chastain, who's a Bigfoot experiencer. We had Pat McCRAY. We had Robin McCRAY. We had me, and we had Matt Delph up there, and we were just talking about topics, and it was a lot of fun. I got off on the Mandela effect because that thing seems to hit me very hard. I was driving up to the way I go to Burnsville is you go to Marion, get on the interstate, go to Marion, then you drive straight up the mountain to Spruce Pine, and then about 25 miles over to Burnsville. And I was talking about how crazy it was because it'd been like 4 years since I'd been to Spruce Pine. I was the keynote speaker at the Space Expo, along with Mike Barra of Ancient Aliens. I was very fortunate that they asked me. That was my first keynote speaking gig, and it was cool. So anyway, I was shocked that the distance between Highway 226 and Highway 226A, it used to be about a mile, is now 9 miles. Right? You know, that's the Mandela effect for you. So I climbed up the mountain. I got up there, and it didn't say Spruce Pine city limits because it always said that right when you got to the top, make a right, and there was the city limit sign. City limit sign has moved about 4 miles. I mean, things have changed up there. And I mean, because of the Mandela effect, I don't know if y'all have ever had anyone talk about that, but, you know, don't know why, but things have changed. So anyway, I was talking about that, and not a soul in the audience disagreed with me. That was what was interesting, is nobody disagreed. You're welcome to disagree with me anytime you want. I mean, you can disagree with Robin and anytime you want, and she'll say that's fine. Yep. You're entitled to your opinion, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I respect people's opinion. I don't have to agree with them, but I respect the right to have them.
Right. And so, but it was amazing. Nobody disagreed with me that things have changed. And I got off on that, and we talked about a variety of topics. I don't think we talked so much about Bigfoot because we had Bigfoot talks all day. Started with Matt Delph, and then you and Pat. And then we had Christian McLeod, who's the cryptid guy.
He was great. I really liked him. He was nice.
He's a nice guy. And then
Very nice.
Then we had somebody, and then we had Tom. Oh, we had Brad Mulder talking about radionics. He and I got up there.
Tom Cordos was there, and we adore and love Tom. So yeah, Tom is awesome.
And then we had the panel. So that's kind of what we had. We had a lot of Bigfoot talks, but we're not afraid to talk about other things. Yeah. And Brad and I and Robin have been talking about use of radionics in exploration of Bigfoot. And I'll talk about that a little bit later, if that's okay. I don't want to get off topic. You know, so that's.
I don't know what radionics is. I've never even heard of it before.
We're going to get into it for sure.
Okay. Well, the radionics. You're using your intent and energy. You guys, it's kind of like what I do, only with the technical device. Like I just use it myself because it's me and I know how to use my own energy to do it. Brad and John, they have this device. And so from what I don't know a lot about it, but from what I've been able to deduce, that's kind of where it comes from. It's basically the same thing I do anyway.
Right. And I have the most amazing story you've ever heard that I'll share with you when I digress into radionics, because I proved that it really works. At least it works for me. But that's anyway, amazing. We had a lot of fun. Then all the speakers went out to eat. We had John Dixon. That's right. Reverend John Dixon, who's a Tennessee MUFON investigator, and he was talking about MUFON, and he mentioned a little bit about Bigfoot. We like John. He's going to be one of the keynote speakers along with Robin, if she can make it to the Flying Saucer Comic-Con.
I want to. I can't. It's the same time my grandbabies do. I'm like, unless she comes early.
Well, we'll see. We're just going to.
If she comes early, I'm there.
And I had first dibs on her anyway, John.
Yeah, I'm supposed to go to Brian's, and every year I'm going to go to this camp out. I'm going to go do this, and I desperately want to. Number one, Canada is one of the most gorgeous places on the planet, hands down. But I wanted to go to hang out with Brian and everybody, and be around his clan because I talk to his clan all the time. And every time I get ready to do it, I can't do it. And this year I wanted to go, but then my daughters do at the same time. So I had to postpone it yet again until next year.
Yeah. Okay. Well, it's going to be great this year, but next year will be great too. So I just wanted to ask you, John, so at the end of the conference or whatever, like I've spoken at a few of those, and then, like you said, the speakers all get together and then they field questions from the audience and whatever. Do you guys do that?
Well, they field questions when they do their talks, but then I don't think anybody had any questions for the panel.
Oh, okay. That's normally what the panel was when I did it. It was interaction between people in the crowd and the panel, and basically it's a little different.
Well, we did too, because what we've done in previous years is we would discuss situations with the panel and then say, audience, ask your questions of the panel. And we did that. This year that in North Carolina, I think it was a little bit different because we were putting out questions instead of the audience putting them in. We were putting them out and then the panel would respond. So it gave like food for thought for the audience. But then at the same time, anybody that had questions on it would raise a hand and they would be able to, get involved as well. Right. But then when we do our talk, we always tell them when we start to talk, at any time during, us being up here, please, we want to answer your questions. That's why we are here. And also, as soon as we're off stage, that is why we're here, for your questions. So it's like when I got done talking, I would go over to my table, and I'm kind of like the human butterfly. I flop all the way around and say hi to everybody anyway. And, people will come up to me and they'll ask a bazillion questions. That's what we want. Like, I learn from them when they ask me questions, and they can learn from me. That's the whole point of questions, that you both sides learn. So it gets real informative. And for me, I had so much fun. I love Georgia Bigfoot Conference anyway, but the North Carolina one was a lot of fun because I had been really working like crazy over here lately. And it was a nice needed break for that day. But I mean, my gosh, Daryl Denton drove all the way to see Tom and I, and Tom Cardos was there. My friend Vicki Christensen was there. it was just all these really great people that I normally talk to, but I don't get to, like, you know me, Brian, I'm a huggy person. And so, I got to actually physically hug everybody and say hi to them. I had a blast. It was so much fun because it's like old home week, you know, and everybody's swapping stories. So it doesn't go by just what is done on stage. That's just like one minor part. And the whole thing just feels like a big group of family. So yeah, I had the best time. I had so much fun. And Chris Chastain came and picked us up and drove us there. And Chris and I get laughing so hard at each other. It's absolutely, he's like the dearest person ever. And he makes me laugh. And so there was him, Jake, Pat, and I, and we laughed all the way there, all the way home. I mean, it's just been great.
Awesome. And you're up to 500 people already. So a couple more years, you'll be up to your 750, 1,000.
Well, I hope.
Oh, yeah.
We've got Ron Moorhead coming in 2024 to the Georgia Bigfoot Conference, and I'm hoping that will be a real energy boost, get us up to 750 or 800, so that the next year we can have, additional speakers, the quality of Ron Moorhead. And I know Christian McLeod's going to be there next year. He will. And
I've got some people that are really good, hands-on experiencers, know their stuff. They're legit as can be, and I can pull them in too. So yeah, I'm excited.
And I'm really excited that next year, since it's going to be a Friday, Saturday thing, Elijah Henderson's going to be there on Friday. He's a Seventh-day Adventist, and so the Saturday is his Sabbath. But if there's a Friday, Saturday, or Saturday, Sunday conference, he can attend one of the days. His father was the top researcher ever at Land Between the Lakes. Johnny Henderson had a lot of experience with Dogman, and I'd just do anything to have Elijah get to come up and talk. He is just a real draw. He got to speak. They extended the International Dogman Conference till an hour after sundown so that he could speak, and he packed the place. I mean, I saw the pictures, and it was great.
He's very nice.
He's a really good person. In fact, he and I were going to talk about radionics last night. We got too busy just talking about paranormal. I said, all right, we're going to have to do it tomorrow night. He said, okay, great. So anyway, it was a lot of fun. So again, just keep making great friends in this paranormal world.
What's your experience with Dogman, John? Good, positive?
Terrifying.
Terrifying.
I have never had a Dogman encounter.
They're not that bad.
Well, the way I look at it is they just don't want to be bothered. And they don't like it when they get bothered. They can be unhappy. Robin, would you say that's the appropriate way to put it?
Yes and no. Like, they're more stoic. Like, I've met some of them that have that funny sense of humor, and that's great. But they're much more like the Bigfoot tend to, when they find people that they want to have interaction with, they do. And it's not that the Dogmen don't, but they're much more independent. They're not as curious about us as, per se, the Sasquatch are. They do their own thing. They're like the police in the woods. They're going to guard everything. They're going to take it. They've got canine in their genetics, and they're going to watch everything. Some of them can be playful. I mean, I've had some that just have that funny sense of humor and it makes you laugh, but they are definitely more stoic. But they're also one that if you're going to get up in their business and get in their lane and poke at them, they don't have the tolerance. They just don't. Like, your Sasquatch might be a little bit more tolerable of our stupid hairless human antics, but the Dogmen don't have the patience for that. They don't want to be bothered with it. And if they want to be left alone, it's strictly, I don't want to be bothered. But yeah, I mean, have I ever talked to any aggressive ones? I have, multiple times, but I've not had problems with them. Like the one I took the picture from my front porch was like 20 foot away. If it wanted to do anything to me, it could have. It just looked at me and walked off down the side of the house.
Okay. So there's some good Dogman experience from Robin. I just don't have any. I have one Dogman encounter story in my book, Look Up in the Sky, 3rd edition. Guy a weightlifter in Kentucky, he went out the back of his house, and it's on a cliff over kind of a marshy area with some caves. And he looked down there, and lo and behold, there was a dog man. Dog man was not happy to see him, and he wasn't happy to see the dog man. He ran inside the house and locked the door. He said it was terrifying. It really was. And so, I mean, you know, it's what it is. You know, you kind of have your experiences. Robin seems to have a lot of good experiences with a lot of cryptids because she's a proponent of mind speak, and I think she can communicate with them well. I don't know that I communicate very well, maybe a little bit, but it's kind of a fun world, especially. I mean, I was counting up. I've probably had about 20 experiences with Bigfoot, and I'm going to tell my first one because it happened at Robin's house. I was down there, and
stuff and everything.
So I'm down there, and Robin cooked lunch, and I'm sitting there in her dining room, and I'm in the chair that is opposite the window. And it's Saturday afternoon, about 3:30, and I just look up, and there's about a 12-foot tall, hairy dude walking past the window. And I bolted to the front door. It must have 2 seconds, and it was gone. But I know what I saw. I mean, you know, you can't tell me I didn't see it. And she said, must have seen something. I said, well, yeah, I did. I saw a Bigfoot. They're real. And I believe they're here now. Oh, I was terrified the first night. Maestro, the wrestler, professional wrestler, very well known, he and I stayed there at Robin's house. And she was very kind to let us stay there. And I got there, we all walked outside on the front porch, and all of a sudden, the trees on the left start shaking. She has a row of trees.
No, you went to get luggage. Remember, you went to go get the luggage out of the trunk?
Whatever, I can't remember exactly. See, my memory fades.
You said before you got there, John, you said it would be really nice, even if I don't get a sighting, if I at least saw something or had something happen, so I knew they were there. So you're to blame, not me.
I know, but no, I'm just saying the interesting thing was we got this row of trees, and you know how wind blows and trees go back and forth, and they sway back and forth when there's wind. But these weren't going back and forth. They were shaking, and there was no wind. And that was pretty scary because I said, there's something going on there and it's not normal. And Robin said, well, I told him that, you know, it'd be nice if you saw some evidence. And she said, there's your evidence. Oh, I was scared to death to go outside by myself the next time I had to go out to my car. But then, so Robin and I go in the house and we go on the back porch. And Robin, I don't know if you'll remember this or not, but I saw something that looked like
a shadow.
But it was it looked like a gray flashlight was moving around her backyard. Yeah. And I said, my goodness, what is that? She said, oh, that's Shadow or Brownie or something. It was one of them.
No, it was Shadow. He was doing a belly crawl around the backyard. He's a goofy boy.
But it was like, and I looked up at the upstairs window, and it was dark. There wasn't anyone shining a light, and it was very creepy, you know. So there we go. Those were my first two experiences.
And then he came in the house and turned around and watched a little ghost girl walk up my steps. I thought John was going to have a stroke. He swore he'd never come back.
That's right. I've been back many times, but it was, yeah. I've experienced the ghost girl running up the stairs. I think one time it was Robin and Pat and Janice Carter and me and somebody else. We were all sitting in the living room. And all of a sudden, I heard a kid, something running up the stairs. And I looked, there was nothing there, but you could hear the sound of something running up the stairs. I mean, it was really there. But then the one that Robin wasn't present for, and I don't know if I told her this or not, but one night I was sleeping in they call it the pink room because it's painted pink. And it's at the corner of the top of the stairs. So about 3 o'clock in the morning or so, I heard somebody walk up the stairs. And I said, well, it's probably Pat or Robin because they had pets in one of the bedrooms. And I figured, well, they were just coming up to check on the pets. And so then I heard somebody else come up the stairs. I said, well, it must be, if the first one was Pat, then this must be Robin. Then I heard somebody else come up the stairs too, but there were only two people downstairs. I said, oh, this is not right. So I stood right next to the door. And when the footsteps got to the top of the stairs, I blew the door open and there was nobody there. I mean,
yeah, it gets creepy up there. We have like upstairs, there's three full bedrooms, a living room, and then 2 full bathrooms. And in the one bedroom, which is blue, I was on a video chat with Turtle Man and his girlfriend. And we were talking and chatting. I went up there because it was quiet. And we're doing this video chat, and I was the only one home. It wasn't like, there's a lot of people there. And I heard these heavy, heavy footsteps, 2 completely different people coming up the steps onto the landing outside that bedroom. And I thought, what is going on? I'm the only one home. And as I'm looking at the screen and I'm talking to them, I see these 2 heads come through the door. And they look like 2 different Bigfoots. They were massive heads. And look in at me. And I'm talking to them at the same time. And I'm not saying a thing to them because I don't know what's going on. But before the heads came through the door, I could hear them out there talking. And it's definitely in Bigfoot language. And I can hear them out there talking. And the doorknob even turned. And I'm like, what in the world is going on? And you could hear them pacing, because I had a long hallway up there, pacing up and down that hallway before pretty soon their heads like leaned through the door and I could see their heads. And I'm like, okay, now I know what's going on. I'm okay.
So yeah, I've had lots of wonderful experiences. I think the creepiest one was this. I had a caricature artist. I have a caricature business. And we had spent the night at Robin's house because we were doing an event in Columbia the next morning at about 10 o'clock. And I didn't want to drive from Myrtle Beach all the way over there. It was just going to be too rough. So we stayed there and we got up and we left. It was about 5 o'clock in the morning and it was still pitch dark. It was early in the spring, I believe. And so we start driving out and all of a sudden, like 4 shadows appeared on the right. And then when we got there, they had vanished. Then just maybe another 100 feet down, the same 4 shadows appeared. They rose up. And the thing kept going that way until we were out onto the main highway. And that was really scary. I tried to make jokes because I didn't want my caricature artist to think, to get weirded out or whatever, but that was the strangest thing. Robin said it was just probably a couple of Bigfoots just checking out who you were because you pulled out of my house and they were just kind of seeing what was up. But it was, now that was a little scary because and to see 4 shadow figures rise up, then vanish, and then come back 100, 150 feet later. So, I mean, but you get to where you just take these things in stride. It's like this morning. Oh, yeah. I told you I put up a picture of Bahalaw's son on my wall, and I took down a very nice poster, and we'll relocate that. So this morning, I walked into my bathroom, and a bottle of mouthwash had been straight up. It was full. It was turned over. I said, well, this is not right. And then some towels had been displaced because they were stacked up in the bottom part of a nightstand, and they were on the bed. And I said, Mr. Mansfield, I'm sorry if I made you mad by taking your poster down. But he hadn't done anything since. But as I told my attorney, who I pay the rent to, I said, well, I've got a roommate. He said, really? Who? I said, it's Mr. Mansfield. He said, oh. And then I'm standing here. I got the door to my pantry open, and all of a sudden it slammed shut. That happened about a week ago. So, I mean, I've got a roommate. I also got a bad spirit in my bedroom. I sleep on the couch. I'm serious. I don't sleep in the bedroom anymore. I sleep on the couch because I have terrible, vicious, vivid nightmares when I sleep in there. I don't like that. So the easiest thing to do is just change rooms. So that's fine. So when I have company, I'll let them sleep in the bedroom. I'll still stay. I'm not gonna mess around with that stuff, you know. Robin, I guess you'll concur that some rooms are haunted.
Yeah, I can clean it out. We just gotta have time to do it. No big deal.
I know,
gotcha.
but for right now, I'm just I'll stay on the couch. It's comfort, and I like it. And both my parents at one point or another slept on the couches. They just liked it. But anyway, so I guess I'm not adopted. So, you know, I'm like both my parents. But anyway, so yeah, that's that. But anyway, so those are some of the Bigfoot stories that I had at Robin's house. They were interesting. She taught me, and I'm not going to go into it. She taught me how to attract Bigfoots to my place. I thought that was interesting, and I did. It works. This stuff's real. You know, it's funny. When I talk about Bigfoot, and when I talk about UFOs, nobody seems to question me because I'll light into them. I mean, unless you can't not see one. I mean, you know, you can't. I mean, you know, just because you haven't seen one doesn't mean it's not there. I mean, you know, you can. That's all I've got to say. Nobody really bothers me about it, and I'm careful about the company that I discuss it in. But many people enjoy listening to these stories. And Robin, I think you'll probably say the same thing. You've probably met some people. You've ended up talking about Bigfoot, and people enjoy it. Some people really like these stories, don't they?
Yeah. You know, people end up. I've noticed with myself is that people come into my life, and there's always a bigger reasoning than why. Like literally, I went to go get one of my mini pigs because I have mini pigs, and why I was even getting this pig, I have no idea because I had no desire for another one. But yet now I'm getting this piglet, and I'm thinking why? Because I don't want it. Well, once I got out there, it was because there was Bigfoot all over these people's property, and I was out there to tell them about them and get them to interact and what to do and how to be around it. I no more cared about getting that pig than the man on the moon. I mean, I've had him 4 years now, and he's absolutely precious, but it wouldn't have bothered my life if I didn't get him. But that was the greater purpose for why I was there. So people come into your life for the bigger purpose of the cryptids, you know, for the various reasons. But there's always a generalized purpose for why.
Yeah, and you know, it's interesting you say that. I mean, anymore, it seems like the friends that I make are always interested in this when I bring up the subject. My buddy Kobe, the electrical guy who's really good at stuff and building some things. And I asked him about the paranormal. He said, "Oh God, I love it." I mean, I met him at the Withville UFO conference last year. He came back this year, said, "I'm here." We haven't stopped talking since. It's kind of like Robin, you know. We just, you know, so you meet people and they kind of get attracted. They get attracted to you, don't they, Robin? There's like you're an attractor. And I think it's
kind of like a club.
It is. It's like everybody knows, well, you know, that's okay. And I know when it's okay to mention. I got a buddy in Oregon, and I said, by the way, have I ever told you about my Bigfoot conferences? Oh my God, my dad and I were out in the woods, and we saw, oh my goodness. And he just like came forth. It was great. He was thrilled about Bigfoot. And, you know, I hadn't talked to him in about a year. It was real funny. He just popped up on Facebook, and we started talking. Then I called him, and here came the Bigfoot thing, and that was another hour of conversation. It was wonderful. So it's like people seem to get, and then I get some false positives. I mean, some people, you know, come, you know, you start talking to them and then start mentioning it, and then they just vanish. Okay, that's fine. Well, that's good that they left. I don't have to mess with them. But yeah, a lot of people seem to get attracted to talking to me, and like they do Robin, just because, and then inevitably the subject of the paranormal comes up, and you find out that by and large, about 90% of them are very interested. I think the other 10% really are, but they just don't know how to handle it. What I think, but, you know. So that's.
I don't know. I think that Bigfoot have a way of connecting people. Like Brian, don't you think? Like I know with Ari and the clan, they've done that with you as well.
Nonstop, happening all the time.
Yeah, it's they bring people together. You know, they've got that love that they radiate. Even, you know, the bad ones that are out there. They're going to be, but the good ones that love they radiate. It has a way of bringing people together. Some of the greatest blessings in my life, as far as people go, have come from that Bigfoot connection.
Oh yeah.
You know, I mean, look at you and Mike. Okay, you guys are freaking awesome. We have so much fun together. I wouldn't know you guys if it wasn't for the Bigfoot stuff. I wouldn't know you at all. John is like family. I wouldn't know him either. I have all these people that are now in my circle. I wouldn't have any of them if it wasn't for the Bigfoot.
No, and they're constantly connecting you with people who they think might have the opportunity to open their minds up a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm constantly being taken places where there's somebody who has to listen to something I have to say, or vice versa. And it's just like connections everywhere. Just so obvious.
And it's all heart connections. I mean, it comes from that place of love. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like, I have friends that, well, we all know that, you know, some of the people in the Bigfoot world, I mean, they're lethal. I mean, the Bigfoots aren't as bad as some of these people out here in the research field. But for the most part, you know, you surround yourself with people that are good, that you enjoy being around or whatever. But I have friends that I've met through this that I know have my back every second of every day. You know, it's like, if I were to pick up the phone right now, no matter what my issue is, and per se call like Duke Sullivan, Duke, I'm in trouble. This is what's going on. I know he has my back. You know, he called me last night about something. He knew I had his back. And it's like that with various people in it. It's like, if you call me, you know I'm going to do whatever you need me to do. You know, and I know if I called you, it would be the same way. But it's not just that you have friendships with these people, but some of these people you connect with so well that, you know, these are going to be lifetime friends. These aren't going to be somebody that, oh yeah, we worked in this industry, we worked in this field, and they're by and they're gone or whatever. You know, Mike is the one that I met. He found me because I was going to John's conference. And from the second I talked to Mike and I clicked. Like, Mike has a heart of gold that few people have. And not on top of the fact that he's, you know, the world's sexiest man. We already have established that. Well, he's going to be the long-standing joke. But
it's actually the most beautiful man. But
well, it's his hair. Do we only all wish we had Mike's hair? I mean, really. But
yeah, from here back.
Yeah, but I mean, he has one of the best hearts. He really does. Like, he's like completely energy and love based. But I wouldn't have met him if it wasn't for the Bigfoot. I'd been doing the Bigfoot for God knows how many years before I met Mike. You know,
yep.
It's just, they put you with the people that they want you to be with. And if they want you with somebody, whether it's a friendship, whether a romance, whatever, give it up and just go with it, because that's where you're going anyway. Yeah. I mean, like, years ago, I mean, this was years ago. I can't remember who it was. It was, I think, Steve Anthony? I don't know. It was years ago, probably 10 years ago. And I told him, I said, they're like the Bigfoot dating service. They look at you and Susan, Brian. Perfect example.
Yeah.
You and Susan wouldn't be together if it wasn't for Ari and the clan.
True.
You know,
they absolutely played matchmaker. I mean, yeah,
absolutely. 100%. They put you where they want you to be and with who they want you to be with, whether it's a friendship, whether it's a romance, whether whatever. They know better than we do.
Yeah. Yeah.
I wouldn't have met John if it wasn't for them. And the thing about when I met John that was so crazy was Igor had contacted me and said, you know, he wanted to go to John's conference, and his conference was generally in April. And he's like, I want to go to Dr. John Stamey's conference, you know, in a typical Igor, make it so. And I'm like, okay, fine. I don't know. Find out. They don't know him. Everything, Robin, make it so. And so I'm like, okay, I will get hold of him if I can. And I left message after message. He didn't think I was serious. And Igor kept calling me. Why, you know, have you set this up? Have you set it up? And I said, why is this so important to you? Because you won't be here in April. Oh, I'll come in April. I said, you're never here in April. You're not coming until May or June. I do this with you every year. you're not coming till May or June. And he's like, no, I'll be there in April for this conference. So I talked to John. I meet John. We hit it off right off the bat, talked half into the night. And he's like, well, at the end of it, he says, I want you to come and speak at the conference too. And I'm like, well, listen, it's not like a twofer. You don't have to have me speak, just have Igor there. He's coming anyway. Like, he wants to go, but I'm telling you, he's not going to make it for April. He thinks he's gonna, but it's not going to happen. Like, I already knew it wasn't gonna. So he wanted me to speak at the conference anyway. And I said, okay, fine. And Igor never thought any more about the conference after John and I connected. Like, he never asked about it again. I brought it up to him and I said, listen, I got you set up for it. He says, okay. And that was all he said about it. He eventually did make it, started coming earlier. So, like, in the future conferences, we did one whole season.
He came to the second one.
Yeah. But the first one, as soon as I connected with John, Igor lost interest in it for that year. Like, and I know that was all instigated by the Sasquatch. I know it was.
Yeah.
Because as soon as he found out I had set it up with John for him to come like he wanted so desperately, he was over it. He was excited to go the next year. And I think he did it for 2 years in a row.
He did.
Yeah. And he loved it. We had a great time. And I had a real good friend of mine that rented us a house in Georgia the first year and in the mountains there. And we stayed. Remember how much fun that was? But, it was the Sasquatch were the ones that initiated that. And as soon as, they used Igor to do it, and as soon as the situation was created where I met John, then Igor was let loose of it for that year. He came the next year. But they just have this way of bringing the people that they want together.
Oh, absolutely undeniable. I mean, that's fact. Not even in debate as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, me too. I don't even fight it. I don't. It's like, okay. I mean, I try to be a good little puppet because it's gonna go down the way they want anyway.
When are they bringing a lovely little chickadee for Mr. Beans?
I don't know, but they need to. I think they need to. Mr. Bean.
I mean, I have no lack because they all belong to me.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, sure.
Well, that comes,
Yeah. That comes with the throne.
Yeah, it does. I mean, it's just
like God level romance. They're all mine.
They're all yours. Listen, they have. Oh my goodness, the whole sexiest man thing is finally getting to him.
Yeah.
He's got all of his ET girls and the other girls and everybody else.
I don't have any lack in my life, so.
That's good. That's a good thing to be. May we all wish we had that.
Dr. John, I want to ask you if the people who went to your conferences, I guess you had 5 or 6 of them by now. Did they ever tell you stories about things that happened to them during or after the conference?
Oh my goodness. Here's what happens. Someone will come up and they'll buy a ticket and they'll say, I need to talk to you about something. Well, I know what that is. That's the way they do it. They always do it that way. And then I said, well, just hang out here a minute. And then when the line goes down to 0, then they'll start telling me a story. And that's kind of how it works. They all say, there's something I need to talk to you about. Okay. And they, I probably get about 20 of them per conference. They're interesting. And some of those folks I have on Scary Cast, which is my podcast. We run Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday night. It's a lot of fun. And so, yeah, I get a lot of Bigfoot stories. They're great.
Well, I got a story of something that happened to me after I think it was the last day of the conference. Yeah, had a nice little interaction with the Sasquatch people.
Where? What happened?
It was in Clayton, and I don't know if Clayton's not very big. I don't think it even exists really. It's got a traffic light though. But
it's got
I was staying in the hotel. If you're coming up from the south, I was staying in the first hotel on the right as you come into Clayton. And it's just a little, probably got 12 car spots. It's a motel, right? And behind it is this great big bluff. So the last day after the conference, I go back to my hotel room, and it was a motel, and I saw at the back of the where I was staying, they had a path that went up this bluff, and the bluff was about 3 stories tall, so it was basically straight up. And I figured, well, maybe that's the locals come up and down to go to the restaurant. So I went up there, and I got about halfway up there with my flip-flops on. And I said, this ain't going to work. But when I looked, I saw this amazing kind of tree structure thing where the Sasquatch had hung this tree. It was about this big around, and it was like about 16 or 20 feet tall. They hung it up in the canopy, and it was hanging. So it was like 3 feet, 4 feet off the ground. I said, well, this is outstanding. Right here behind where I'm staying, they got a tree structure. So I went back down and got my shoes on, and I got my little video camera, and thought I'm going to go up there and look at it. Now this thing was this little trail, it's like a 1 foot wide trail. It was so steep that if you reach your hands out in front of you, if you're leaning over, you could almost touch the ground. So I had to really watch what you're doing at every step. So I get up to the top of this little thing and take that little video thing, which only took like a couple of seconds or something. So I gotta go to this red Georgia clay. And I turn around and I come back 3 steps down, and there's a mole right where my footprint was. A mole, an actual dead mole. A mole like like I got moles in my house here, and I've been here for like 4 years, and I've never seen a mole. You don't see moles, so you have to dig them up or catch them. But there was this mole there, and there's just no way that mole was there, because there's like, I walked up five steps up at the top, and then 5 steps back down, and there's a mole there. The mole was not stiff; it was dead, but it was soft, and it's like it was still warm. And that let me know that there was an invisible Sasquatch right standing there, right there next to me. So that really really helped me change my viewpoint of the Sasquatch, how personal they can be, and how clever they can be. And they just wanted me to know that they were there. They're the representatives of the Sasquatch who knows me were there, so since then I've been gifted like a few squirrels and live squirrels and a live rat and things like that. I've been gifted, but that was like the first live mole. Moles are only small, only about that big, like halfway between a mouse and a rat. Well, that's my story, and it happened the last day of your conference.
Wow, that's so very interesting. Yeah, I mean, things do happen all the time. If people will watch carefully, they will notice a lot more just paranormal stuff in general going on. Like, if I wasn't thinking, I wouldn't have noticed that this bottle of mouthwash was laying down, but it was. Yeah. And I mean, I might have just turned it up without even thinking. But I realized that, and then the towels happened right after I had rehung this picture, or I'd hung this picture and taken the other one down. So I got the feeling Mr. Mansfield wasn't happy. Because if he was happy, he wouldn't have done anything, or he would have done something different. I know in the mountains of North Georgia, I had an interesting experience. I was standing next to a 1-lane dirt road, just enjoying. It was a cool afternoon. It was drizzling. It was just, a beautiful time, and I was enjoying it. And about 50 feet from me, across that little road into the woods that were very sparsely populated, I saw this like square thing. It looked about 3 feet by 4 feet. And I saw it get launched, and it went and cleared a 50-foot tree, came down and crashed when it got there. Well, you know what I did? I said, hey, good to see you, thanks. Because here's the deal. If Bigfoot had come walking down that 1-lane dirt road, I'd have had a heart attack. If he'd just been coming down the road saying, hey, John, I would have terminated right there. But that was Bigfoot's very smart way of saying hello and not destroying the forest and everything. Just taking a piece of bark and launching it up over a tree. And I immediately waved. I knew exactly what that was. And I thought that was kind of cool. Bigfoot's smart, goodness gracious. Bigfoot's
That's personal. That was like personal, tailored for you.
It was, and I'll never forget it. And I had another experience. I'll tell it just here shortly. But Robin was actually part of that. It happened at the same location. Well, I'll go ahead and tell it. And then, Robin, I'm going to turn the story over to you at a certain point. And you know which point I'll take. Okay, what had happened is I had gone up to Franklin, North Carolina. I was trying to do a little business up there, trying to put a Comic-Con up there. It wasn't working. So anyway, I come back. And the next day, I'm supposed to go to the Chamber of Commerce. And so what I did was I got in late to this bed and breakfast I normally stay at. It's a little tiny cabin right next to a little bit larger house in the woods. And so I got there about 10:30. I'd called the folks. I said, well, I'm sorry, I'm going to be late. And that's okay. Well, we're up kind of late anyway. So I got in there about 10:30 and went down and said hello to my friends. Then went up, got my stuff out of the car, put it in the cabin. And I just was sitting there. I mixed me a drink. And I'm just sitting there relaxing, enjoying the nice night in Northeast Georgia. And all of a sudden I realized I didn't hear any birds chirping. I didn't hear any crickets or anything. I thought, this is odd. So then all of a sudden, something slammed against that little cabin so hard, the little cabin shook. And the first thing I thought was, oh my God, this is one of those rare mountain earthquakes. Then I heard some rustling, and I heard a footstep. And then about 4 seconds later, I heard another one. I said, no, this can't be happening to me. Because that door is something that an upset 4-year-old could open. I mean, it didn't have a knob or anything. That he used a rubber strap to keep the door closed. Because he said, well, nobody's up here in these mountains. No one's going to come in on you. Right. So I heard these long steps coming around, and then it's on the front, and it gets right next to the door, and it stops. And when I say dead quiet, that is the quietest I've ever heard. Well, I downed that drink, cut the light out, and sat there. And I remember I woke up about 3 o'clock in the morning, birds and crickets just chirping away again. And I said, thank goodness. Because I was terrified that I was going to have an encounter with something. And I thought it was probably a Bigfoot. And I just thinking, why me? So anyway, and then I looked at my phone. I was going to call Robin. My phone said 7%. And I looked around my charger. I said, oh no, I left my charger in the car. I am not going outside until it's bright. I am not. So at 7 o'clock in the morning, I go out and got my charger, charged my phone up real good, and I called Robin. Now, I had not spoken to Robin in probably at least half a day. So I hadn't told her anything that had gone on. So she said, I'm going to say the first statement you said, and then I'm going to let you finish. You said, well, I heard you had an experience with the Bigfoots last night. They told me. And I thought to myself, you know what? I know this lady is good. She's better than good. No, nobody told her this. And she just picked right up on it. So Robin, tell them what the Bigfoot told you.
Well, to begin with, John got up there later than what he had planned. And that, kind of threw a monkey wrench in their plans. And they were out there working with one of the kids. They were teaching him to hunt. They were doing not a ritual, but a rite of passage with the hunting. And they were in that area. And I don't think it would have been a problem had John got there on time, but he got there late. By the time he got there, they were already using that area to work with the child. So they allowed him to get into the cabin, but they were still out there doing this rite of passage with him, and they were doing a ceremony, and they were teaching him how to hunt. They didn't want to hurt him. They just wanted him to stay inside the cabin.
I'm going to stop you, and I'm going to say they sure got it done.
Yeah, he was terrified to leave. And, he called me in the morning. I was kind of like waiting for him to call. That night when they got hold of me and said that this was going on, I thought he would call.
But I couldn't. My phone was at 7%, and I had one call to 911. That's all I had.
Yeah. And I didn't try to call him because I said to them, I said, he better not get hurt. And they said, we have no intention of hurting him. I said, I don't want him scared to death. Like, don't kill the guy. And they said, no, he's not that scared. He's uncomfortable. And I said, well,
I was terrified.
I know. And I'm like, I was going to call him, but then I thought, well, maybe if he's not as scared as they think he is, if I call him, he's going to, I don't want to freak him out. And so I didn't. I purposely didn't call him, and I waited for him to call me. And the other thing about John is trying to call John is like the impossible dream, because John is busy and is working 24 hours a day, 8 days a week without stop in between. And then I'm the nag that calls him and says, knock it off before you hurt yourself. But so John normally will call me first, or I'll send him a text and say, okay, need to talk to you now. So he knows if I call him, it's for something important and he'll get hold of me right away. But that particular night, I was like, I don't want to freak him out that they're literally inches outside the wall. So I'll wait to hear from him. So he called me early in the morning. And I'm like, so how'd that night go?
Well, I'll tell you something. When the next day, I wanted to see how hard that little cabin had been hit. So I got about 4 feet from it and took a lunge at it with my shoulder. It didn't move. It didn't do nothing. All it did was hurt my shoulder. And I realized something had to be like 1,200 pounds hit that thing. And
yeah, I remember, there were 3 adults out there and the 1 child, if I remember it correctly.
All I got to say is that was like that book about the Titanic. That was a night to remember.
Yeah,
it really was. And it happened. And I can't rewrite history like they're trying to do now, but I'm not going to rewrite that history.
Yeah.
But it was something else. And like I told Elijah last night, I said, now, Elijah, have you ever seen a Bigfoot? John, I really want to. I never have. I've been busy looking for Dogman all my life with my dad. I said, that's all right. I want you and your sister to come down to Clayton, Georgia, and I'm going to take you to a place. And we'll see what happens.
Careful what you wish for.
Oh, I know. No, that's fine. They know me. I believe, now, Robin, tell me if I'm wrong, but I believe if once a clan knows you, they just know you.
Well, yeah, it's kind of like a universal thing anyway, because they share that collective consciousness. So it's like they don't all know you, but the potential for them all to know you after one encounter is there, should they decide to share that info.
Maybe after 5 encounters, it's the same place.
Yeah. But like Brian's group is just like this giant ball of love. Like Ari and them, they are wonderful. And they just adore Brian. Like they throw the love bombs at him or whatever all the time. And they love Susan, so she's awesome. Sue's the best.
Well, that's cool. Yeah, but it's interesting because I told you I was going to tell you a couple of Bigfoot stories. Those are my 2 best ones. And it's been a very interesting life. What's funny is I don't think anyone for at least 5 years has ever looked at me and said, I don't believe in Bigfoot. I guess I have this vibe that they know they better not, I'll say, no, let me explain to you. In fact, I've got a Bigfoot keychain right here on my radionics machine. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah. Let me ask you something. How long have you known Robin now?
About 6 years, about.
Okay, yeah. How was your relationship, or how was your understanding of Sasquatch changed since you've been introduced to Robin? Because
she's been a complete college professor. I didn't know no, I'm gonna tell you something. I started that Georgia Bigfoot conference. I didn't know beans about Bigfoot. I just didn't. I just said, because I'd run some Comic-Cons. I said, well, I can do a Bigfoot theme. They said, I can do that. It's just vendors and talks. Oh my goodness. And people, when they meet me and find out the knowledge that I've got, I mean, and I realize just how much I've learned, and about 80% of it's come from Robin. Now it has. And so, yeah, I mean, I can't thank her enough. She's been a wonderful teacher, and she and Pat have been wonderful friends. In fact, oh, but by the way, Robin, do you know that Pat got me a speaker for Scary Cast in August?
Oh,
The gal that does Bigfoot art.
oh, Sibylla.
Yeah,
Oh, cool.
yeah. You didn't know that?
She's awesome.
She's really nice. I talked to her, and so anyway, he just did that right out of the blue, and he commented about the picture that I posted on Scarycast that it was done by AI. Did he tell you about that?
No, he did not. But I'm not a big AI fan. So
What it was is a picture of a guy. They said the picture was from 1883. It was a picture of a guy, and standing next to him, the guy's probably about 5 feet tall.
oh yeah, he did. Yeah. Yeah, it's all AI. I'm like totally anti AI. Like I'm the worst person to talk to about AI. Some of the AI art is absolutely stunningly beautiful. It is gorgeous. You know, I have a real good friend that does AI work. She's phenomenal at it. But yeah, it's the whole artificial intelligence thing that I have issues with. But yeah, he did tell me about the one with the picture.
But I just liked the picture, so I didn't take it down. I just thought it was cool. See a Bigfoot standing next to the dude. The dude was half his size. I said, "That's cool. I just like that, you know." And so I mean, and that's and by the way, I'll tell you that they gave it away. They said they found it in a mason jar buried in the back of a house. Well, first of all, had it been a picture, it would have been curved to the point that it would not have had the smooth surface that it had. I guess they forgot about that, and I knew it wasn't real, but I just liked the picture of Bigfoot.
They've got some cute stuff, yeah.
Yeah, so it was kind of cool.
So let me revisit that question again, because I wanted some more specifics, maybe. So, how has your, I mean, do you consider the Sasquatch people or the Bigfoot people, are they teaching you? I mean, you've learned a lot off of Robin or whatever, but do they have a hands-on student teacher kind of relationship with you? And if so, how has your understanding of them progressed through that relationship from the beginning to, where you stand with them right now? How has your understanding of them and probably yourself, because that kind of goes hand in hand, how has that evolved along your journey?
Well, let me tell you, my story's always different than other people. None of that applies. Okay. I get idea flashes. And if I feel like someone has taken an arrow and shot an idea into my head, that came from Bigfoot. I know that. All right.
Yeah. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Right. And then number two, I'm sure you're familiar with mind speak.
Yeah.
Are you?
Yes.
Right. Okay. And for everybody, I'll tell everybody what happens with mind speak is you internally ask a question and the answer gets given to you like a voice is telling you the answer and you're not making it up. In fact, I taught a buddy of mine who is a sorcerer in Alabama. We were having dinner one night in Charleston and I taught him mind speak in 3 minutes. It was amazing. But here's how my mind speak works. Okay, to the right of me, you see my hand? Yeah, okay. To the right of me, about 2 feet. Do you remember the Hollywood squares?
Yeah.
You remember the 9 squares from the Hollywood squares? Well, who was in the center?
Paul Lynde?
Paul Lynde, one of the greatest comedians of all time. Well, guess who is in the center of my Hollywood squares system over here? Guess.
Paul Lynde?
It's Bigfoot.
Okay, well, that was my next one.
Yeah.
And it
And
was one of the two.
yeah, no, it's not Paul Lynde. And unfortunately, his jokes have not neither he nor Rodney Dangerfield's jokes have aged very well because they were so culture specific of when they were successful. I still think they're funny, but they haven't aged very well. And I'm afraid, both of those great comedians are going to get lost in time. So I just wanted to mention them because they need a little good publicity. And I hope Paul and Rodney hear me talking about them. I mean, what's his name? Robin Williams is never going to get lost in time, but those guys might. I just want to say something to them. But anyway, whenever I do certain things, I see about right here, can you see? Yeah, about maybe 2 feet from me, 2 feet from my face, either that Bigfoot will smile or frown. Or instead of frowning, it will look disjointed, like it's really not quite there. And that's how I know if I'm doing the right thing or I'm not doing the right thing, because I have constant advice from Bigfoot. So Bigfoot's with me all the time. I mean, that's just the way it is, and can't get rid of Bigfoot. Don't want to get rid of Bigfoot. I'm thrilled.
I think it's all kind of. I think it's all kind of unique, because I mean, with me, I just get mostly with. Well, as far as the confirmations or whatever, the right or the wrong way or whatever, or approval or not so much approval, is just energy nudges.
Yeah.
Well, mine are visual.
Yeah, I get the energy.
I just see it.
Well, everybody gets it a different way, and everybody can get it multiple ways.
Yeah, and I think it just has to do with how we communicate, because Robin communicates differently than I communicate, differently than you guys communicate.
Yeah.
So it's kind of has to do with the way you communicate.
It's all individualized.
Yeah.
It's individualized.
Right. And,
yeah. I think that if we had this kind of abilities, we all have it. Different things are at the forefront. Like you may be more visual, I may be more sensory, and but we have a combination of all of them, kind of, and some are just buried a little more. Because probably.
But I'll tell you, it's like the Bigfoot's just. I mean, I can tell when I get one of those arrows coming right through my head, and I know where that one comes from, and I don't even question it. I just try to get it done, because it's probably it is going to be right. They don't say anything weird or bad. Well,
could you fill in what the arrow in the head means? Could you fill in a little bit more what the arrow in the head means?
It's like if someone has a bow and arrow, and you feel a shot of energy like an arrow goes through your head. That's what I mean about the arrow. Okay. But the last really weird thing they asked me to do was they said, why isn't there a North Carolina Bigfoot conference? And the next second I said, well, there will be. And that's it. And that's how it got started. I had 6 weeks to put it together. And I think we did really well. I had some help from Robin. I had some help from my radionics machine. And I had some help from Elijah Henderson. And just those 3 people, just boom, it happened. And it was a pretty good conference, don't you think, Robin?
I had so much fun. Like, I really did. It was very relaxed. It was very high energy. Everybody, there was no drama. Everybody got along. To say that it was wonderful to see the people that I saw is such an understatement. Like, I really had so much fun. I really and truly did.
Well, now, there was almost some drama, and it miraculously didn't happen.
Yep.
You know who I'm talking about, right?
Oh, yeah. We had somebody there that, was kind of like a buzzkill, and it was centered on me, but and not because of me personally, but just different belief systems. And so it worked out great. And now he keeps trying to contact me. So I don't understand that at all. It's like, you don't believe anything I believe. Why do you want to talk to me?
So I want to ask you, I wanted to ask you guys' experience with these conferences. Because I mean, I've been to a few, but they're normally, and I don't enjoy a lot of them, I'll be honest with you. Because most of them are like just monster or ape based, you know, like most of them just see, yeah. What you know, I just don't even want to hear that stuff. It's just like,
no, and I don't participate in any of the one. Like, there's really and truly, regardless if I'm asked or not, there's only 2 conferences that I do. I'll do any of John's, hands down. Number one, I feel 100% safe at John's. I can go to John's conference and I can be me.
yeah,
I can have my beliefs. If anybody tries to mess with me, John's there, and he won't tolerate it or allow it.
Because I'm going to interrupt you, Robin, because your beliefs are pretty much the same as my beliefs. So if they're attacking you, they're attacking me and you, and I'll blow them out of the water. Okay,
but here's my point though, is that you have 2 sides. Like I'm just said, I don't normally go because usually it's just the one side leaning heavily on the McGilla gorilla running around in the woods kind of thing, and I don't know. I don't want to sound like I'm beyond that, but it's just I just don't want to. I'm just not interested in that. There's no information there that will help me. But what I wanted to ask is you guys have obviously, because you've done so many, you have a pretty good mix of both sides. So how do they get along? Is there any infighting, or
we don't tolerate the not getting along? Like, when it comes to John's conferences, have we had people that were of the ape belief? We absolutely have. But from our side, as well as the ape side belief, there's common ground. There are boundaries that you don't cross with each other. And like John said earlier, and I'm going to reiterate, I have no problem with people having a different belief system that I have. Mine is based on my experiences, on what I've been taught by the Sasquatch and what I've experienced with them. If somebody else does not have that same belief because they haven't had those shared experiences, that's perfectly fine. Believe what you wish. It's not about having different beliefs. It's about respecting each other's right to have them. And that basis of kindness. So in John's conferences, like I said, I only do 2 conferences. I do Harriet McFeely's in Nebraska, and I will do any conference that John has, because I have that kind of faith in him. I can go there. I can be me. I feel safe. I feel protected. And I feel like I can express my opinion without risk of having to deal with the drama of outside people. But that being said, we don't oppose other people having their beliefs. It's all about a mutual respect for both sides. They have every right to believe what they choose to believe. I don't have to share that belief, but they're absolutely entitled to theirs, just like I am. So I feel like with both the one in Nebraska as well as John's, we have that common denominator where it's okay to have different views, because you learn. You don't want to ever stymie yourself and not learn. And you can't learn if you're not challenged, or if you don't have people with other experiences. It just comes down to the point of a mutual respect for the other person's right to have those beliefs. So we cover both sides of that coin, and then we let the people that come draw their own conclusions. We make sure that the guests that are speaking, or the speakers are, and this is both in Nebraska as well as John's, we make sure that our speakers are there for people to ask those questions. How can anybody make an intelligent decision if you don't have information? Mm-hmm. Information is power. You need both sides. So for me, it's not whether or not, it's not like we block anybody from their belief systems or from sharing their own experiences, because you can't take away someone's experience. It's their experience. But it's about that mutual respect for both parties. Will you stop, dog? That mutual respect for both parties, and it just works. We don't tolerate the drama in Nebraska. If you're going to be a drama llama and you can't be respectful of other people's opinion, then you're not welcome. It's a really hardcore no, or you need to leave now, please. Have your opinions, vocalize your opinions in a respectful manner on both sides. And it's the same way with John's. And I think that reflects on the conference itself because nobody's afraid to share. We don't tolerate the drama. There was one person that was coming to John's conference for several years. And, you know, his belief system was a little bit different. And that was fine. Everybody got along beautifully anyway. There was never any drama until the last time that he came. And I don't understand why all of a sudden he changed, but he's no longer part of our play group. You know, I mean, you can have those outside opinions and we respect them, but you're going to be kind to everybody. And it's just a zero tolerance for anything other than light and love. It's
well,
that simple.
It was really interesting. The first time I met him was when we were running a paranormal Comic-Con in Charlotte. And he had the most whacked out, crazy, and cool ideas. I mean, he was like, okay, if you and I are 45 degrees left, he was about 75 degrees left. It was really cool. And just the longer he's been around, the more restrictive he's become. And, you know, I don't like people who quote the Bible and misquote it. I don't like that. Just don't quote it. Or just come up with some other way to make your point, but don't misquote the Bible. I don't like that. But anyway, you know, whatever. We all get along pretty well. And I think the group we had there up there speaking was great.
Oh, it was wonderful.
And I love it. You see, I'm going to tell on Dr. Trey Dunaway.
I love Trey. He was my hero for the conference.
You see, he's a surgeon. He's just now retired. He is one of the smartest men I have ever met. He was also a public speaker, and he did a lot of public speaking about medical technology and medical coding back when it first started. And he he did great as a surgeon. He did really well as that. And Trey, I caught him speaking out of both sides of his mouth, but he didn't realize it. He got up there and he said, well, you know, in this whole bunch, I'm the realist. I practice Western medicine, which means cut and give a pill. That's essentially Western medicine. Whereas Robin and I probably practice something a little far to the right of Eastern medicine. Wouldn't you say, Robin?
Yeah, east, north, south.
No, we're a little far above Eastern medicine. It's like anyway, I won't get into those things. But anyway, he said, you know, I'm the guy that I have to see it to believe it. And, you know, I just don't ever see anything. Well, here's what Trey forgot. I am good with dowsing rods. I found a pair of dowsing rods at Robin's house one time, and I realized, God, I'm pretty good at this. So I go to Office Depot and I buy me two 2-foot long number 6 copper wires, which is kind of the thick round. And so I bend it to see. Some reason I just knew what to do. I just knew how to make it. And I mean, I have found my keys. I have found all kinds of stuff. And I find spirits with dowsing rods. Okay. And in fact, there was, I got a funny story about Robin. Okay. So I can't find my keys. And so I used my dowsing rods all over my apartment. I couldn't find them. And she said, John, they're where you didn't look. And I said, oh my God. And there they are on the table next to the door. I mean, because sometimes I'll call Robin and she'll tell me where stuff is. And
yeah, he does. He loses stuff really easy. And so he'll call me and he'll say, okay, I lost this, I lost that. Where is it? And I'm like, okay, hang on. Okay, it's over there. Go get it.
Yeah, and it's like, so.
I come in handy at times.
No, she's great. So anyway, I was telling I'm talking about Elijah a lot because we had a nice long conversation. I was supposed to go see him this weekend and go to Land Between the Lakes, and I didn't get to, and I didn't really call him because I was down for the count a couple days, and I didn't want to be around him. So anyway, I told him that I had a particularly valuable collectible, and I called Robin. I said, Robin, I can't find it. It's like it's vanished. She said, it's in a dark place. but you'll probably find it. I said, well, I know it's in a dark place because I could feel that too. So anyway.
I think I narrowed it down though after, I mean, we talked for a few minutes.
Yeah, but when you said it was in a dark place, I knew that meant it was enclosed in something. That's what I'm driving at. Enclosed in something. And this is, I think, one of my most phenomenal experiences with something, and we know who it was. So I decided to clear out my safe deposit box because I moved everything else somewhere else. And I looked at the log where you sign in. And the last time I had signed in was over a year ago. Okay. And so I go in there and I'm pulling around and getting stuff out, and something said, just reach to the back. And I said to myself, well, there's nothing at the back. I had everything at the front. So I reached the back, and there was my collectible that I'd had out 6 months prior. Wonder what magical 12-foot tall dude put that in there.
Well, John called me one day. He carries a money bag. Okay. Rather than a wallet, he has this pouch thing that he carries everywhere he goes, and he loses everywhere he goes. And he called me, and he had went into the grocery store, and he had gone back to the car, and it was not in the car. He didn't have it with him. So he calls me, and he's like, everything I have is in there. Like, I can't find it anywhere. So I get hold of the foots, and I'm like, guys, where did he leave it at? Because it's like search and finding where John has left at this time, because he leaves it everywhere. And they said, we'll get it back to him. We'll get it back to him.
So here's the actual story, because it's, and I might not have told you this. So anyway, I kept going back, checking at the little grocery store. Did anyone turn it in? No. They didn't turn it in? No. So I did it for 3 days, and that was my last time. I said, well, it's gone. It had $400 of my rent money in there. That's what I was concerned with. That's back when days were really tight, when I was selling life insurance, and it was tough making my rent. So anyway, the day I had lost it, it was dry. It was bone dry and, dusty all over. Well, that day it happened to be like it was here yesterday. It rained most of the day. So I came back pretty dejected from the grocery store that no one had turned my bag in. And I opened my car door, and there was a dusty bank bag with it raining all over. Here's a dusty bank bag sitting there right next to my seat. Now I did, and I was only in the grocery store for like 20 seconds and just came back. I mean, that's a real sleight of hand artist did this. So I know for a fact Bigfoot put that there. And I don't know.
Well, they said they were gonna get it back to you.
Right. But what is amazing is it was dusty like the day I lost it. That's what's so odd about that thing. That was the weirdest thing. And I knew immediately who did it. But it was just like crazy. And so, I mean, I guess Bigfoot's taught me a lot. And one is, oh, by the way, I'm going to find that bank bag, because that bank bag is magical. Okay. Why is it magical? What's it got on it?
It has a Bigfoot.
I believe sticker. They used 3 years ago. That was beautiful, but it's still got it there, and that's why I keep it. I won't carry any other bag. That bank bag is charmed. So
well,
there.
The thing about John with the Bigfoot is, years ago when I first met him, after that first conference, the first conference I ever did for him was when I met Mike. That was the very first conference, Mike, that I ever did for John, was the one I met you at. And after that, they would tell me, John is the messenger. And I said, and they've told me that with several people. And basically the messengers are not that they're putting the message out, but they are in a position where they can get the message out. So like for John, in his case, being a messenger, it was because John gives me the platform to get the information, the Sasquatch one out. Like I had stopped doing conferences. I did the one in Siberia came back. I did 2 small ones in Michigan and I was done. I was back out in the woods with my guys. Like, I didn't care if I ever did another one. And John kind of pulled me out of that retirement mode and said, you know, here's a platform to do what you want to do. I want you to talk. And I was like, no, and I wouldn't do it unless I get everything I do, like a show or anything. It has to be Bigfoot approval or I don't do it. I've only done one so far that they did not want me to do. But the reason I did it was because somebody needed to have the correct information and quit spewing the crap that they were. And so once I got out there, then they were all happy I did it. But I've always said, as soon as they are done having me talk, I'm done. I'm going to go back and disappear in the woods like I did before. But John for them was the messenger because he provided that platform. And he's always honored that. Like from the second he found out that that was his role in the bigger picture, he's honored that for them every single time. He was going to do for Patty, on the anniversary of Patty, he was going to do a thing during his conference to celebrate Patty. And I was like, oh, okay, until I got feedback from the Bigfoot and they were pissed. And they're like, you will not be a part of that. Patty was a traitor to our people. You cannot be part of it. You cannot do this, da, 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 da. They hated her. Where our people celebrate her, the Sasquatch hate her. And so I called John and I'm like, you know, I love you like a brother. I'm out of the conference this year. I cannot do it. And he's like, my God, why? And so I told him, and he removed that section of the program. Sure and then I had permission then to do it. But John gives that platform, like, and Mike and I talked about this the first time I met him, you know, the information I put out, it's never been about me. It's never going to be about me. And that's fine because it doesn't need to be. It's about them. It's about getting the correct information. And I don't know it all. I'm not an expert, but what I do know and what they want me to put out, that's what I put out. And John gives that platform for that. And that's why they're drawn to him, because he helps them in that way. That's his way of being able to help them. You know, and then, like I said, as soon as they get to the point where they're like, okay, you don't have to do all these again, then I'm out. You know, I mean, I'll always help people that contact me, but as far as being public about anything, I'll be done.
But anyway, we're glad to have you, Robin, and it's a fun ride so far, isn't it?
Yeah, it's interesting to say the least.
Yeah, it really is. And so I'm just trying to come up with some other strategies. I've got another one I'll be announcing sooner than later. Some strategies to get just the word out about Bigfoot. Bigfoot just can use, well, like Bigfoot's like anybody else. It can use all the good publicity it can get, right, Robin?
Yep.
And bad publicity, because that, even though they don't like the monsters in the woods and Monster Mountain, and
it needs to come out.
People need to hear it. People need to get
it
focused, and that's their doorway in.
I agree. I did a show the other day for a gentleman named Val. He's got the group that Michigan Gumshoe.
Oh, yeah,
and he does a podcast with Grizzly Chris. And I had met Val very, very briefly in Michigan at a conference, but never really had an opportunity to like sit down and talk to him and everything. His group, because he's former law enforcement, he does a lot of detective work. And so therefore it brings out a lot of these bad things that any of the cryptids, especially the Sasquatch, have done. And he's got it in his group all the time. And it is difficult to hear sometimes, but it's the truth. It's all legitimate information. And I was very surprised. He contacted me about doing his show last Sunday. And I was like, yeah, I'll do it. And the Foots did not really want that. But I was like, no, I think this is good because people need to know the bad. They need to know the whole picture. And I had a lovely time. I was treated very well by him and Chris. And Val and I talked, and he did say to me, he was like, it was more of an intense show than what I normally do, but he was always incredibly kind. Like, I think the world of him. And he's like, so you don't think that I should put out all this bad stuff about them? And I said, quite the contrary. It needs to come out, but also the good has to come out as well. And he said, but when I'm doing all this research and I'm digging, none of this good stuff is coming out. And I said, it's not going to. You know, what my experiences that I've noticed with the people that I talk to is when these incredibly wonderful things happen, like they save somebody's life or they help in some way, those experiences don't come forward. And it's my opinion, for whatever the heck that's worth, is they don't, because when they do these acts of kindness, that love comes from them and you become so excessively protective of them, you don't want to rat them out. You don't want to come forward. You have two camps, that it's such an overwhelming amount of love that you want to sing it from the rafters. And then it's, no, I'm not going to bring it out because, number one, people aren't going to believe me. And two, I don't want to risk anybody finding them and hurting them. So those don't come out as much, but the bad stuff comes out extremely well because it's sensationalism and people are scared and they need to talk about it. But that being said, the bad has to come out. There's free will in everything. It doesn't matter what it is. And you can't have an educated set of information if you don't know both the good and the bad. Like, I will never go on a show and tell anybody that, oh, they're all wonderful, there's nothing bad about them. The bad ones are lethal. But that doesn't take away from the good ones and how good they are. And it's like with our people, we have good and bad people. It's the way there's good and bad in absolutely everything. But in order to be educated and actually say, hey, I want to know the truth about anything, you've got to have the whole picture. And you can't have the whole picture if you're compartmentalizing it and taking out the parts that are uncomfortable for you. So you've got to have that knowledge, because how are you going to be prepared to deal with the bad ones if you're never allowed to put that information? So when we talked on the show and Val said to me, he said, so you think I should bury the bad stuff for the good? And I'm like, no. But I do think that it's important that equal sides are brought out so people know that there is good in them as well as the bad.
I mean, we all know stories about Bigfoot returning cats, Bigfoot returning dogs, Bigfoot returning kids. I mean, we all know those,
Yeah.
But you're right. I had never thought about that. So I learned something else from you, Doc.
Yes, that's what they say.
You got to have both sides. That's right. I like that.
I'm really liking this talk. You have this really nice way of talking where you kind of laying out these stories, but your stories are really mind blowing, because you started out before you met Robin and did your first actual Sasquatch. You didn't really know anything about Sasquatch. Now here it is 5 years later, and you got Sasquatch in your head, Sasquatch shooting arrows at you, Sasquatch telling you your yes or no, whether you're like, to do this or not do this. And then you have all these incredible friends. I mean, this is pretty life-changing stuff, and sort of like you're all in now. It's like you're in for a penny, in for a pound at this point.
I mean, I guess you're right, and I mean, it's like I started something, and it's really interesting the turns that this thing is going to take, and I can already see it. I'm a big fan of chambers of commerce, okay, and I'm a member of like 5 of them, because one in every community where I run a conference, because the Chamber of Commerce is a very valuable communication medium to get the stuff out. And so what happened was I called up the Yancey County Chamber of Commerce, which is where Burnsville is, where I had the North Carolina Bigfoot Conference. And I said, I don't seem to be getting your emails. I mean, and so what's the deal? She said, it says, this week at the chamber. And I immediately said to her, why don't you put this week at the Yancey County Chamber, so I know which chamber it is, so that when I'm getting ready to do my festival up there, I'll be able to find it. She said, oh, no, that makes sense. And then I hung up the phone and I said, you know what? I can probably do a pretty good job at running a chamber. And of course, the arrow came right there, said, then why don't we have a Bigfoot chamber? It would be people that like Bigfoot advocates. It would be people that sell Bigfoot merchandise, people that go to conference. Anybody that likes Bigfoot at all can join it. And I thought, wow, that's a great idea. So I enrolled about, 25 members up there in Burnsville. And everywhere I go, I take my little membership forms. And as soon as I get about 100, I'm going to start sending out a month, week, at least a weekly or maybe a monthly ime,l and just start bringing people together that like Bigfoot. Because there doesn't seem to be something where, maybe there is, but or at least not around here, And like, you know, if I need some T-shirts, I would rather use someone that supports Bigfoot at conferences and stuff by selling T-shirts. You know, let's support our Bigfoot fans. And so that's another thing that I'm working on, and I think it's a very positive project. You know, so all the Bigfoot, if you're a Bigfoot fan or you're a speaker or whatever, you can join the Bigfoot Chamber of Commerce, and I'll have the website up soon. I promise, probably this weekend. I was busy being sick for a while, so now that I'm not sick anymore, I got to get that going. But yeah, and I guess you might call
it like a great idea. I know a lot of people do. They do artwork and carvings and paintings, and
that's exactly right. And I want to give each one of them a page where they can display their stuff and then link over to their site.
John, you should get hold of Michael Payton. Michael Payton I see him every year at the Nebraska Bigfoot Conference, and he's so incredibly talented. He's on Facebook. He's incredibly talented. He's an incredible person, just as himself.
Yep.
And his artwork is amazing. He can make anything. Like I said, he's phenomenal. What are you doing?
You're looking at his phone.
But he would be another one that would be really, really good for something like that. In fact, I have a picture that I have it on the wall near my bed. I love possums for whatever reason. The Bigfoot have brought me possums for years. It's just been a thing between them and I absolutely adore my possums. And last year in Nebraska, he had this picture. It's of a Bigfoot standing there, and it's got a possum on its shoulder. So I fell in love with it because of the possum, because that's a special connection that the Sasquatch and I have is possums. And a friend of mine, I told Michael, I said, just, you know, I was busy because I was helping run the conference. I said, I'll be over and I'll buy it for me. He's like, okay. So a friend of mine, Jim Wells, him and his wife usually go to the Nebraska conference. And unfortunately, his wife couldn't come this year, but he showed up for the one day of it. So he found out I had it over there. So he went and bought it for me. So I've got that now on my wall, and I absolutely love it. But Michael is very, very gifted and talented and has a heart of gold. So he would be another one that you should contact for that kind of thing as well.
Good. That's great. And see, all I did was mention it. And now I got more members. I know we'll have more members. So that's great. And I think it's important because there's a chamber of commerce now for everything. Did you know there's a woodworkers chamber of commerce? People that just do wood, you know, carvings and stuff. They got their own chamber now. So why don't we have a Bigfoot chamber of commerce? Anyway, we have one now, but I'm just trying to get it put together. It's going to take 90 days. But if I get it done by 90 days, I'd say probably by Flying Saucer Comic-Con, it'll be ready to go, and hopefully I'll get another.
I know, and you're killing me with this one, the 16th of September. Like, just put it in October.
The only problem is the Civic Center doesn't have any more dates this year.
I know, and you know what? I want to go to it in the worst possible way. But you can take my videos and stuff. You can play that video there.
What we're going to do is we will Zoom you in for your talk. You're not getting away without doing it.
That's a great idea. Well, you need to use that video because that video is flipping awesome. My son-in-law took it. I didn't even take the video. It's taken from my porch, but even MUFON flipped out over that video.
Oh, that thing? Oh my God, yes. That is the single best UFO video I have ever seen. And I've been buying UFO magazines since I was 8 years old.
I know. It's incredible. It really is. I have to give him credit. Like I said, I did not take it. He took it with his phone while standing on my porch. And we've had two of the drones that look just like the one massive ship. We've had two of the drones over here. One was here like a week ago in the backyard.
Okay. Well, absolutely. So we'll Zoom you in. Oh, just because you're not there. Oh, and you know what we can do? We can, if you do it, I'll say, all right, I'll put a laptop there and we'll have you in a chat room for like.
Do you know what? That would be so much fun.
And then you can be there. You can be there holding your granddaughter. It's going to be a girl, right?
Yes, Brianne.
You never told me that. I just knew.
I told you. Yes, I did. I told you that. I told you. I said I've got to. Yeah, I don't care, boy, girl, or whatever. But it's a little girl. Her name is Brienne, and she is going to be pure perfection and deliciousness. So I can't wait.
Well, that's great. And so you can be there holding her, and you can be typing in people, because you are a collector of people. When you're at a conference, you get a whole bunch of people around you, and so they can be on laptops talking to you in a chat room. Wouldn't that be great?
That would be fun. Yeah, that happens a lot. Like when I do the Nebraska conference, it's like if I'm working at it at the same time because I help Harriet with it. But if I can get like stationary in one spot, my entire table, and then there's this lineup. But we have a lot of fun.
Yeah, and so that's great. So I mean, you will be there. If it's all right, you'll be there one way or the other. We would prefer
Absolutely.
you were there, but if you can't, you and Pat both, whatever.
Yeah,
it works for y'all. That would be great. So I'd like.
Yeah, we'll definitely do that.
Mm-hmm. And Mike, are you there? Mike, are you there? You're there? Yeah. Okay. I can now. What I was going to say is I need to contact you after this, because I'd love to have you come up there, because it's just in Burnsville. It's not that far from Savannah. So I'll make sure you know about it. Okay.
Yeah, that'd be nice. Yeah.
Absolutely, because it will be a reunion, because you were at my first real paranormal con. Oh my God, that's great. And
be a speaker too, because I got a lot of information about the UFO.
Mike would be perfect to speak there.
Okay. I was getting ready to draw a line and put speaker. Yes, you're going to speak. That'll be great.
No, Mike, you have so much information. You would be perfect for that.
Yeah,
okay.
I don't think I could do an hour, but I could probably do about 40 minutes or maybe more.
Oh, just do whatever you do, and then people will ask you questions, and if you get done a little bit early, people will go get a Coca-Cola.
Well, that's the greatest thing about John's conferences. It's like, I have no problem if somebody comes at me, I can take care of myself. I can. I don't need anybody to protect me or to take care of me. But it's nice when I go to John's conferences, because I don't have to worry about it. He's got it covered. Like, he doesn't make me talk about anything I don't want to. I don't have to do it any longer than I want to. John just lets me be me. It's like I get there and he's like, okay, do your thing. Just do your thing. Do it how you want to do it, when you want to do it, where you want to do it. I got you covered.
Yeah.
And so that's why his, as well as Nebraska, that's why I only do his, and I do Harriet's, because when I go to John's, I'll say, hey, what about this? Or that? You do whatever you want to do. If it makes you happy and that's how you want to do it, I got you covered. And he keeps an eye on me to make sure I'm fine. Like, I can take care of myself. I don't need anybody to protect me, but it's nice to know I don't always have to.
I'm just the most non-micromanager in the world. I mean, I don't believe in micromanaging, because if you get me to talk, please don't tell me what to talk about. I'll talk about what I do, and so far, wherever I've gone, well, the one time that I had to talk about stuff that I didn't want to, it was actually quite important, because it was on William Shatner's Unexplained, and they gave me a list of questions, and I had to do some research so I could answer them, so that they could ask me questions and all that stuff, and I would at least know the answers. But yeah, it's kind of, and in fact, we're doing that tonight on Scary Cast. We got Mark Sargent, and I found a particularly nice video about it's a video about the flat Earth and the seasons. It's a really good video, and so I have assigned all of my co-hosts to listen to it and get questions or comments for Mark there, because Mark's very knowledgeable about the flat Earth. Now I'm gonna give the boy credit. I don't know if it's flat or round or square, but I'll tell you one thing: that boy knows his material, and so I think he'll enjoy it, because he'll get some some good questions, and I think that's an important thing to do in this sense, because we got some other projects with him we're working on. But in general, when Robin gets up there, Robin knows what Robin wants to say. And that's just it. And that's important. That she do and have a good time, because I want her to keep coming back. I want the Bigfoots to keep telling her to come back, because it's fun to have her. It really is. And that'll be just great. And and by the way, guys, Can I get both of your phone numbers from Robin after the show and call you?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, the only way to call Brian is through Messenger because he's in Canada.
Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah. I know to do that. But then Michael, I'll call you because that'd be great to have you come up there, and it'll be another name up there for a guest speaker, because I got to do everything I can not to speak. Do what?
Drawing all the customers.
I'm sorry. Say that again.
And the world's handsomest man, that'll draw in all your customers.
It will, like magnets. The women will flock. You have no idea.
Yeah. I guarantee you get 1,500 next year.
Easy. Just put his name up on the banner. You're golden.
That's okay. That's great. We'll have a good time. And Brad, no, Brian, I'm sorry. I can't read my own. I can't see. And I refuse to go to the eye doctor. No, I refuse to go to the eye doctor.
You see what I have to work with here, Brian? Do you see this?
Yeah, but the thing is John kind of looked and adjusted his eyes, but it's not Brad, it's Port. So how did he?
Port. He goes under Port Cunningham. Hey, where's mine? You gave me a name and you didn't even put mine on.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, what was it again?
Sunny Side Up or something. I can't remember.
Sunny Side Up, yeah. Yeah, you can't remember, but you got it first guess.
Yeah, my name wasn't even up there. I feel slighted. It took me how many years before I got the name? You forgot to put
it took you longer than a lot.
I know. We get busy talking and we don't pay attention.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, but Robin's saddled with a guy that can't see, can't hear, loses everything. But I'm just too dumb to stop doing it till we get it done. I guess that's
he's brilliant. John is the idea guy. John gets these ideas, formulates them, and makes them fly. I love it.
Well, that's right.
I'm the one that finds all of his stuff.
That's right. And she now schedules for ScaryCast, thank God, because it's like I got to a point one time where I knew I had 4 guests in a row and I couldn't remember who they were. It's like, God, because I talk to so many people every day. It's hard to remember everything, you know.
And I won't be there Monday. Remember, I will not be there Monday. I will be in Florida.
Okay.
So I will be en route home when ScaryCast is on. I will be up in an airplane.
You don't have to say who it is, but you do know who's on Monday night, because I don't.
Yes, I do.
Okay,
and
great.
I will make sure you know, and I will remind you Monday morning, as I always do.
Thank you very much, because I just got so darn much to do, and
I've got everybody's stuff on my calendar, so every day I look at my calendar and I'm like, okay, who do I have to remember to do what today?
Yeah, and I got to share this with y'all. I had a little bout and had to go to the hospital, and I came back, and Sunday I knew I had to take it easy, and I felt so worthless just not doing things. I mean, I guess I really am a chronic workaholic, but I like it, you know. And so this week I've just been banging it out. I've been calling people, visiting clients.
He needs to slow down. Like, he had a health issue a couple of years ago, and the 12 months prior to the health issue, I kept saying, John, this is what's going to happen. No, it's not. Yes, it is, John. Slow down, John. This is what's going to happen. And for 12 months, we did this song and dance of Robin telling John, this is what's going to happen to you. And John saying, I believe in all of your premonitions 100%. I'm fine. And we played this cat and mouse game for like a year, and then it happened exactly like I said it would.
Yep. But anyway, you know,
he is a workaholic.
But it's great. I like getting things done, and I like doing things for the cryptids and for the UFO community, and, you know, the Bigfoot community. It's fun, and I really like it. And again, I keep meeting nice people to work with, and that's what I really like. You don't get that in the business world if people are just regular business people. But when they're interested in things, and they're interested in the Bigfoots or whatever, it makes it so much more fun because you've got it's kind of like family, it's like we're all family. We're all interested in the monsters or whatever you want to say. We really like it.
Yeah.
And it's important to me. So anyway, we didn't need to say that, but I just thought I would.
Yeah.
So
usually like-minded in a lot of other ways other than just the interest in cryptids or whatever.
Yeah.
Seems, yeah. So it just seemed like reuniting with family or something when we all kind of hang out or whatever, because we're, considered odd by some people.
Well, we all have a common bond, and we're all probably thinking a lot alike to begin with. Now, Robin, would you agree with that?
Yeah, but I think one step further from that is they put people together. Okay, we know that. It doesn't matter what kind of a relationship it is, they put people together. But we also know that they worked as a combined consciousness. They work under the law of Ra, which is one. So when they put certain people together, I think not only do you have that common denominator and interest, but you almost are starting to work as a one of consciousness. Like you're all on that same consciousness level. And it makes you even thicker. Like I've had friends that I've had for my whole life, but I'm not as thick with them as I am people that I've met through the Sasquatch. And I think they bring you into that collective consciousness. And I think they're actively trying to teach our people that anyway. Most of our people are too hard-headed to get it. But I think when you become friends with people and you have that shared interest, and it has to do with the Sasquatch, you get pulled into that collective consciousness. I really believe that.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
I'd never thought about that, but that's a very good point.
And that includes the ET people, because there's a...
Oh, yeah. That's where it all comes from. That's where the start of it was.
Yeah, there's some kind of a teamwork going on. There's some kind of an agenda or like a plan or a theme, an overall theme. A lot of it has to do with the paranormal. Yeah, we need to know about the paranormal because that's how most of the universe works.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I think. Yeah, and like the ones that were here the other night, last week, that ship that was here, I felt nothing bad from them. Like I felt nothing but love from them. They never tried to hurt me. They never tried to do anything. They were just doing their own thing. And I mean, I've had the bad ones show up. I've gotten hurt by them before. Hell, I almost died from one group. But the ones that were here, these little pod ships, they were fine. I had no issues with them whatsoever. They're welcome to be back there. They're not hurting anybody. They didn't do a thing wrong.
Interesting. That's very
And then
interesting.
you got the breeding program. I know you're all involved with Dr. Melba Ketchum and her breeding.
Yeah.
And that whole thing is like Sasquatch, ETs, and humans, and Dogman all have the same genetic roots, and it wasn't natural selection on Earth.
No.
So the whole biological theory of history of natural selection, and it just doesn't hold water anymore.
No, and the sad thing is that on the science end of it, she can't even list anything about the ETs because there's no ET genetic database to compare that nuclear side to. So it has to stay listed for the study as unknown because as a scientist, you can't claim genetics on something that you can't test. So the nuclear side.
I wouldn't go so far as that. There's a lot of, it's just that we're not seeing it in plain sight. There's a lot of people who are ET human hybrids. And if you did a full genome on them, you'd see there was a female human mitochondrial DNA and some kind of mix of a human and hybrid.
And I've known people that were hybrids.
It wouldn't have to be off by much.
Yeah. And I know people that were hybrids. So I agree with that 100%. But I mean, as far as for her project, for what she was testing, what she had access to, there's no way to say the nuclear side is ET. Like they readily, the Sasquatch, the Dogman, whatever, they will readily tell you that they're an ET on that side. They don't sugarcoat it at all. but scientifically you can't put that in the paper because the government has a seal on all the alien DNA. So when you go to test that nuclear side, you don't have access to it to test it.
It'll come out. It'll come out. I'm not worried. You know, this has only been like 10 years she's been doing this.
Yeah, and now we've got the second project under, in the works here and going, and the Dogman DNA will come out eventually as soon as we're done with the genomes. The preliminaries, I think are already there, but the genomes they're working on right now. And then any other cryptids that we can get hold of samples from, then she'll test those as well. And it's going really well. Yeah, we did not have the support in the first study that we have now.
Well, the disclosure thing, right? This whole ET and Sasquatch hidden agenda and all that kind of stuff, and deny. Well, that's breaking up because now we're getting more and more people coming out, high level of UFO intelligence, and they're getting up there to generals and stuff. So that's breaking down slowly. When that egg cracks, then there's then the other thing is academic papers. One of the reasons why everything's moving so fast with the UFO community is because of the Dr. Edgar Mitchell Foundation for Research into Extraterrestrial Encounters, which is free.
Yeah.
They put out 2 or 3 type papers on their survey, which they did over 3,000 people in their survey of all the ET contacts and every kind of thing. They got 11 PhDs in psychology, PhD in what do you call it, surveys. They had these 11 PhDs, so that once you get the scientific data, the government has to move. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Everybody can say, well, we don't have any evidence. We don't have any evidence about it. Now they got scientific data. They have data and pie charts and everything.
Yeah.
With Dr. Melakacher, when she comes out, if she gets it printed, even if she prints it in her own thing, it's data. And
it is, and it's mind blowing. It's just incredible. I mean, they can attack her all they want. They can attack me all they want, the project all they want. The DNA does not lie. You can't fake it. And we've got it from the top labs in the country. So unless it's a world conspiracy theory to try to, make a joke out of everything, the DNA doesn't lie. Robotics Arms tested it. It wasn't, there's so much that is there that the public's not aware of because they didn't want to hear. But I will say this, we do have support this time like we never did before. Had we had the support last time like we do now, the outcome would have been vastly different. And it's taken a long time to get her back to do this again. Like her and I are excessively close. I consider her, a sister. I talk to her multiple times a day. And, it's been the last 10 years of, come on, don't you? And she's like, no, I'm done with these people. Like, I'm over it. I'm done with it. I was so excited when she finally said, are you up for this again? And I'm like, heck yeah, let's do that. I mean, I don't know anything about science. I'm not a scientist. I can do a great many things. Science isn't one of them. So, she tells me what she needs me to do and I take care of it. And we work well together, but she's the brain power, not me. And she'll do just like she did the last time. And she will use some of these outside labs, the top ones that we can get to, just because it adds more credibility besides what she'll test.
Well, don't forget that we, just this little pork and bean show, we have 3 different women who have said and that they are the genetic mothers to multiple Sasquatch children. And it was done on a craft. So, I mean, that's profound. You know what I mean?
It is. And, I'm going to talk to her about that because I wonder if she would want to look at the DNA from that.
Just to be in the mind of the human consciousness that this is happening, not just for human hybrids, but Sasquatch hybrids, Dogman hybrids.
Well, I wonder if they would want to give DNA. Wouldn't that be incredible if they gave DNA and we could test it and support it?
I don't know how you could do that. You definitely do that. You got Penny Rummel. She'd probably give you the DNA.
Oh, I know her. Yeah.
Yeah, and Tina B. Thomas, right?
I don't know her, but I do know Penny.
Yeah, and then that other lady. Who's the lady we did last week, Brian? was it Diane Maynard, right?
Right.
And she,
Diana Maynard.
did you have your headphones on? Did you hear her say one time? She said, "The Sasquatch told me that I'm the genetic mother of some of their children." Remember when she said that?
Yeah.
Yeah. But it would seem like you're just like so laid back. To me, it's like, whoa, you know what I mean? And you're like, all right.
Brian's chill. Brian's chill at all times.
It was not a stick lift. He didn't pay attention.
Well,
But still,
we've all experienced.
big ups to Brian for being able to bring these people together. I mean, this is important data.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. See, Brian's another one. You guys are both messengers. That's what messenger means. You guys provide platforms for information to come out. And it's like, it's so vital and it's so important to their cause and to the way this all progresses. Without the messengers, we got nothing. Without the contactees, we got nothing. Without scientists like Melba that aren't afraid to push that envelope and take the hits and the criticisms that they take, we have nothing. Like,
Yep.
This is all part of the overall plan. This is all of a bigger thing than just us. None of this, I get so frustrated with people. They go on these shows and then they get the big ego and it's like, look at me, look at me, look at me. It's never been about us. It's never going to be about us. It's about them. It's about the bigger picture. And I've had people say, oh, you're doing all these shows. You want to be famous. Are you kidding me? All I do is open up myself for attack. It's not about me. It's not about anybody. I don't care if anybody knows my name or not. I can go back into the woodwork and back out the woods and disappear just like I did before, and that I did for over 40 years. And I'm perfectly happy that way. I don't have to be on everybody's radar. I love the people I work with. I can work with all of these people on the side and nobody even has to know I exist. There's a bigger purpose, and the purpose isn't us, it's them. It's what we can learn from them. It's the overall bigger picture that we need to know that's been kept from us over all these years. That's
Absolutely.
the whole. It's not us as an individual. I don't have enough self-confidence to have an ego. Okay. I don't. And it's not about, I want people to know who I am because I just don't care. I care about people. I care about my cryptids. That's what I care about. I don't give two hoots about whether or not I make some politically correct list. I mean, clearly that's not ever going to happen. So, it just doesn't matter. So you see these people, and the biggest way to their demise is the ego kicks in.
Yeah. And you can tell it. And you can tell who has it and who has it under control.
And it's like, it's so ridiculous because it's never been about us. Never.
Exactly.
That's why it's so vital that the messengers like John, like Pork, like Beans, and other people that have these platforms, they provide the platforms to be able to get the information from the contactees and the experiencers out. Okay, without contactees and experiencers, you have nothing to put out. But without the messengers, there's no platform for the contactees and experiencers to get it out. So it means we have to work together under the same consciousness level to get it out there. And that's what it's about. It's about working together as a team. That's what the Sasquatch teaches us. You do it as a collective consciousness and as one. Everything with them is a lesson. Even the basic things is a lesson.
Yeah. So I wanted to ask you, brought up something earlier. So you said you've known many hybrid people?
I have. I've worked with them on and off through the years. I had one that was a dragon hybrid. I've had some that were, crossed with different ETs and things like that. Yeah.
But have you worked with them in the physical though? I mean, you know them on a physical level too, or just like, so?
No, yeah.
Oh, okay. So why don't you tell us about some of them and whatever, and they're all aware of what they are. They're all aware of what they are, or is there a time maybe in their life where they get woken up?
No, there's only been 2 or 3 throughout the years. The other ones that I've encountered that were hybrids were trying to cause me physical harm. And so I try, there was that, but yeah, And like, if I look at them for whatever reason, and there's a term for it, and I don't even remember what it is, but if I look at them, I can see somebody as they present themselves, but I can also see them as what they are in reality, whether they've shape shifted or not. So that, you know, puts a whole nother spin on it. I kind of come in handy in a crisis because I can tell what things are.
Walk-in where an alien life form cohabits or you know, jumps into somebody's body. So so they look
Right.
like
So like
human,
if
but
I
then if
look
you
at
look
that,
at their energy body, they look like a dragon or something.
yeah. So if I look at that person and it's been something that shape shifted into something else, I can see them as what they're projecting to everybody, but I also have the ability to see them as what they shape shifted from.
Let me,
Have you
Robin,
ever?
I'm trying to ask you a question here.
What?
The dragon, the one that was crossed with a dragon, what did he look like in reality? I am so in.
She
For
looked
some
like
reason,
a regular woman. She looked like a regular woman. She was lab created by our government, but yeah. But she did look like a regular person.
oh, okay, all right. I was just wondering. I mean, that was just such a fascinating idea that she's crossed with a dragon. I mean, where did
Yeah.
they get the dragon DNA? Goodness
Well,
gracious.
yeah, I mean, they've got all kinds of stuff, and a lot of it they get from the ETs. I think she said it was like Sirius. Was it Sirius? I can't remember if she was from Sirius B or A, but she was lab created.
And what is their, what do they have different agendas or different purposes? And are they aware of
Yeah.
them or are they driven? I mean, what, you know,
She
like,
wasn't. She wasn't driven for anything bad or good. She was just existing. You know, she was the product of what was created.
Was she fairly nice?
Yeah, she was a lovely person. Yeah. But it's very hard, you know, people like that have these genetic hybridizations. It's hard for them. How, I mean, if you really think about it, it would be hard for anybody because you don't really belong in any one world because you have parts of two. So how do you ever adjust to something like that? That, I mean, I think that's very difficult.
I guess
yeah.
you have to just pick a base camp
And
and
I've worked with women that have had the alien DNA fetuses. I had one, you know, they took the baby at 5 months, but it's very difficult. It's a lot more traumatizing than people think it is. Sometimes you can have it where it's a beautiful experience because you feel like you're part of something, but you know, when you don't, it's not your choice to do it. It's not always the easiest thing to deal with.
How many is it? I think it must be in the millions. I would not be surprised if it was over 4 million people who, because there's a lot of women, they say, I've had this happen 5 or 6 or 16 times. I've been taken, and right.
I have had
So there's a lot.
childlike I have had childlike ETs show up wake up in the middle of the night and they're standing next to my bed and calling me mom. And I've had vivid dreams that I know were not dreams in dream state of them taking babies from me. And at one point I had an implant done and nothing showed I was pregnant except my uterus. They couldn't get scans on it, that nothing would go on. And this carried on for 5 months. And then I woke up, I had a bad dream that they took the baby. I woke up and my stomach was flat. And I had damage done inside my uterus from them that when they ended up having to take my uterus because of it, when they ran tests on it, they said that what they found in there was not one lab in the country that could determine what it was. And within a week or two after that report came back, I wanted copies of it and it was destroyed.
Yeah, that's the dark side of the, you know, and that's the dark side of the aliens. Because look, I've been involved with those guys a couple of times, and when you're abducted and then everything's hidden from you, and then you have these dramatic things happen to women, that is not cool. It's another thing if you were taken and you were upgraded, and you know you got to watch the big TV screens, and you got your
Yeah.
intelligence, and so they're like giving something to you, you know. But that's not what these other guys are doing. They're just
No.
basically some
Yeah. I mean, I've
wholesale
been taken so many
cattle.
times and yeah. And it's like, they want my DNA. And I'm like, how much DNA do you need for the love of God? I mean, really, And then the one time I was taken, I remember being on this table and I said, you're done implanting me. Okay. Because I don't even have a uterus anymore. You guys killed it off. Like what you did to me, I was in so much pain. I had to have it removed. And I'm like, I can't do it anymore. I don't have a uterus. And they said, we don't need your uterus. Now we just want straight DNA. And I was like, okay, I mean, what are you going to do to stop it? You can try. I mean, I can keep him at bay more better now than I could back then. But yeah, it's not always pleasant. There's not always good experiences. Have I had good experience with ETs? I absolutely have.
Sole contractor, you made an agreement. That's bullshit. If you do that in some
Yeah,
dream
no.
alternate reality, that doesn't count. You have to be conscious and understand what's going on.
Yeah, I never made an agreement for all that.
And violation.
I never agreed to let them do to me whatever the heck they wanted to at any certain time. That's not an agreement. It was much more helpful once I learned how to stop them in a dream state. And then I could transfer that over when I was awake and they came. And so it's been much better since I was able to, defend myself more.
Yeah.
Wow. Now, Robin, I didn't know any of that. I just learned something about you.
Yeah. There's lots of layers, John. And I tell you anything anyway.
I know, but I mean, we're just always so busy. I guess we're always so busy working on stuff that, trying to get this show planned that I just don't, I guess I'll have to stop doing that. No, that's really very interesting. How do you, I have met somebody this year and it just clicked in my head that they are a hybrid. Do any of them
I can look at them. All you got to do is show me a picture and I'll tell you if they are or not.
Any of them look just a shade odd from us? I mean, I'm pretty average looking,
It depends on the hybrid. Like it depends on the hybrid. I've had people that literally look 100% human and all I have to do is focus on them and then I get the image in my head of what they really are. It kind of ticks them off, but it doesn't change anything. I still can. Just send me a picture of them, I'll tell you.
Okay. I shall do that. But it's so funny when you were talking about it, it just hit me. They're a hybrid. I mean,
well, I have to agree with Mike that there are so many out there that it's just simply unbelievable. And I feel like we're getting more of our people are hybrids than there are, it's just the numbers are mounting daily.
You mean people who don't know they're hybrids?
Well, I think, yeah. I mean, a lot of people don't know what's in their genetics. And I worked with one person that had been harassed most of their life. And after working with that person, it became very evident that their child also, because that person was a hybrid and didn't know it. So when they had children, that genetic bloodline transfers, so now there's that, I mean, I just think that there's more people than we can even comprehend that have that alien DNA.
I asked you before to take a look at it, but I don't know how deeply you did. But you remember when I said that before Susan and I met, we had all that blood spots showing up on our pillows and stuff, and we figured that there was somebody was tinkering with us and preparing us because we got together shortly after that, and then all this amazing stuff. So how did you see that? That was all ET interference?
I saw that as ET. That was ET testing. That was ET genetics. When you and Sue are together, the energy that you create when you're together, people don't seem to realize this. When you are with someone that you are supposed to be with, that energy that connects you to can create certain things. And the ETs, the cryptids, all of it would like to harness that. And so you and Sue together have that. Separately, you're strong. Together, you're unstoppable. So you have that energetic connection going. So now you guys are together. It's not even preparing you. It's when you are in close proximity to each other, or even when you're connected through the consciousness, the ETs are going to want to tap into that. And we just become lab rats.
In our little maze, eh?
Yeah.
So what you're telling me, I'm going to make a joke. So please, but don't take offense. So basically, what you're really telling me is that Rosemary's Baby could be real.
Yeah. Let us hope not, but yeah, it's possible.
No, but you know, it's interesting. I guess it all boils down to so I mean, Rosemary's Baby. You do know who Rosemary's Baby is, right?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, great. So I guess Rosemary's Baby is real. That's kind of a great name for a talk on this, isn't it?
No, because you don't want to go there. That one is demonic. So we don't want demonic. There's a huge difference between demonic and evil. I've dealt with both. I don't like demonic. I can deal with it, but I don't like it.
Oh, okay. Well, that's an interesting clarification. So, I mean, what is the difference between demonic and evil?
And I'm probably not right, but this is in my own head. Okay. For me,
from your
demonic,
interpretation, yeah.
Okay. For me, demonic comes from the underworld, comes from Satan, that kind of thing. Evil is just bad to the core. We have people in our society that are evil, look like Charles Manson, all these people that do these horrific things, they are evil. That doesn't mean that they're a demonic entity. Demonic is underworld, is Satan, that kind of thing. Evil is just bad. And people automatically assume if something is bad or evil, it's demonic. And I'm like, no. Other people may have a different view of it. Myself, my experiences, it's altogether different. Demonic is as bad as you're going to get. Evil is still bad and it's still deadly. But it's a different, like when I've worked on people that I've had to remove either something demonic or something evil from, they're two separate energies completely. It takes a certain set of skills per which one you're doing.
Which one's harder to get rid of, or
demonic.
They can demonic?
Yeah. But, you still have these things. Like the problem with the evil stuff, demonic is its own entity. I mean, it's like a one solid mass of this stuff. But when you get into the evil draws all these other negative energies because evil also has that energy to it. And so it's like you get a cluster of those, but it's still not as powerful as the demonic.
Well, yeah. And that explains why we attract so many people that are like-minded to us, because our energy attracts our like-minded
exactly
people. So and when you're more aware of that or whatever, then you start to see that, like, it's just in everyday life, all the connections or whatever. So it really is across the board, from the attraction point of view anyway. Like-minded things attract, kind of thing.
Yep. Well, guys, I'm going to have to pop off here. I have to get ready for my trip tomorrow morning.
Oh, you do?
I'm leaving early in the morning for Florida. I have a friend that has some things going on this weekend, and I'm going to go help her. So cool. I am doing a very, very fast trip down there and back. I am leaving in the morning, and then I will be back Monday night.
Please tell her that I said hello.
I definitely, and you know her. So,
I know.
Yep.
No, I know exactly. Excited. I know exactly who it is.
Yep. She's awesome. Love her. And so I'm excited about that.
Okay, good. So I'll still bother you so that you'll know I'm alive.
Better. Yeah, and everybody knows me. If anybody has problems, if anybody needs anything, you can get hold of me anyway. You know that. I'm never too far away.
I'll check on Pat, make sure he's all right.
Yeah. Yep, I'm sure he'll be fine. The dogs will take care of him.
Chester will take care of him.
Yeah, it's Mr. Chester. He's so funny. All 7 to 9 pounds of terror that he is.
Is it Chihuahua?
No, he is a Jack Russell Shih Tzu cross, but he's only 7 to 9 pounds, and he doesn't look like either breed. We refer to Chester as the pet rock. There's only 2 things that make Chester move, and that's a piece of butt or food. That's it. And he used to, when he was younger, my daughter, he would sleep in my daughter's room, and he would wake up and he'd have to go out to go to the bathroom, and he wouldn't even walk outside. She'd have to carry him out, set him on the ground. He'd go to the bathroom right there, then bark at her to pick him up. She'd bring him up, set him on the couch, and he'd be there when she got home from school. He's like a pet rock. He's got this short hair, but a mohawk that goes all the way down his body. He's chestnut colored. And he is the funniest flipping thing on the planet. And he adores John. He loves John.
He's my best friend. I mean, he really is. Although I've got another, I'm working on another best friend, and his name is Luke. He's a golden retriever. He's my attorney's dog, and he knocks me down whenever I come to the office. But that's okay. Tell Chester he'll always be number one in my book.
I will. And I was going to try to stay a little bit longer, but I'm looking at the stuff that I got to do yet. So I still have 3 people I have to work with today. And I want to get them taken care of and situated before I go, because if not, I'll worry.
Yeah, we're running 2.5 hours now, so it's the downhill side. Yeah.
Yep.
But I love all you guys, and thank you for having me on with you.
You always make our shows fabulous. You're fabulous.
Ah, thank you.
Yep.
See, it's all
Absolutely.
because I have a name now. Now that I have a name.
Yeah, you make everything sunny side up.
Yeah. I have to, bring out the cheer.
Yeah, no matter how dark and gloomy it gets, sunny side up brings everything to light.
I try to be the light.
Yep.
But I love you guys, and I will talk at you later.
I'm going to have to call you to get the new guest for next week. I'll call you.
I gotcha.
1 minute later.
I've got you scheduled out till I think second week of August. I've got you scheduled out until then.
Okay, because I told her the second week in August.
Okay, because remember, I've got I booked you. Who was it I booked on? The 6th.
We'll talk later.
Anyway, I've got you booked out. Anytime after the 6th of August, we can get them in because everybody's booked up through then.
Okay, great. Done deal.
Okay.
Thank you.
Love you guys. Thank you.
Love you. Thanks.
Love you. Bye.
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 Did you want to share a couple more stories?
To be honest with you, I think I got most of my stories in that I wanted to share. Now, I do have a book called Look Up in the Sky, and I need to get you guys a copy. We'll get some mailing addresses, and I'll send those to you. Okay?
Okay. All right. But, you were going to talk about...
radionics.
Yeah. You want to talk about radionics for a bit? Because
let me talk to you about radionics.
And how it relates to connecting with Sasquatch.
Well, here's the deal. What radionics does, in fact, I got the question yesterday, is this a cult? No, it's a radio transmitter. And when you program it, what you are doing is you are focusing on your intent, and you use something called stick. In other words, there's a little white thing. It's, you know what? Can I just show you on the camera what a radionics machine looks like?
Sure.
Okay, great. It looks like this.
Put it in front of your face. There you go. Yeah, that's good.
See, that's a copper plate, and that's a white kind of polymer plate. And there are 9 dials. And what you do is you think about what you want to happen, and you turn the dial, you turn each dial until you feel your fingers sticking on the white polymer plate. That's where the term stick comes from. Like, here's an example. I'm sitting there at lunch with my attorney, and we were at Oliver's. Everybody loves Oliver's here in town. Well, what they do is they wrap the sandwiches in foil, and they don't label them. So he got a burger, and I got the world famous chicken sandwich. Okay. So I said, no, don't touch them. I said, just lay them there. I'll pick the burger out for you. So what I did was I just took my fingers like that, and I just kept going back and forth over each one until all of a sudden, the one on the right started drawing my hand. So I pushed it to him. It was the hamburger. You couldn't tell the difference because he said, how did you do that? I said, it's all stick. It's like a technique that everybody used to know how to do, you know, back in Middle Ages, and we've forgotten how to do it. And they use it in radionics. So what you do is you basically rub this plate while you're turning a dial, and when your finger starts sticking a little bit, the dial is set properly, okay? And so you do that. And then on the copper thing, you put the end result you want. Like I got a $20 bill, because I have multiple radionics machines. By the way, I sell radionics machines. I sell Mulder's radionics machines. In fact, I've sold 2 of them already, and I wasn't even trying. So anyway, I've got this one on the copper plate's $20 bill because I want to make some money. And then I've got this handmade Bigfoot item because we're looking at doing some handmade stuff. And I just happen to have this that some guys gave me at the North Carolina Bigfoot Conference. So I put that on the input. And then the copper is the output, okay? Mm-hmm. And it just sits there and runs. And as Mulder says, it just sits there and changes reality. Now, I'm going to make an announcement on your show. You ready?
Yep.
This is a major announcement. I think this is a good place to do it. I told him, I said, the insurance business is getting hard. It really is getting hard. And I said, I need some help. I said, because I'm your buddy and you're on my show, build me a radionics machine to help me sell more insurance. Okay? Turned it on at 3:30 on a Wednesday, at 3 o'clock on a Wednesday afternoon. At 3:30, now he had it in Western North Carolina, and he was putting it in a box to ship out, but he stuck the battery-powered thing on it. So it was running. That day, I sold 6 insurance policies.
Wow.
In the month of July, I was the #1 insurance salesman in one of the largest offices, and I will not say what company it is. I was the #1. I met the highest level bonus criteria. I have never done that. So there you go. It's like, don't tell me that radionics doesn't work. It takes your intent and it sends that in, it amplifies it and sends it out like a radio transmitter. Now you can look at me and say how crazy I am, and then I'll show you my checks. Isn't that terrible? I'll show you pardon my grammar, I'll show you my damn checks. And you can see. And yeah, it's amazing. Now, I mean, you know, there's a 1-to-1 correlation to what happened. We're going to see how it works this month. But I've already got a list of like 9 policies that I need to go sell. Never had a list of 9 policies to sell in my life. So I don't know. I do know. If you want a radionics machine, call me. I'll sell them to you. I'll give you a good price. And I will get these things out. It does have one interesting thing. It won't do something bad. Isn't that interesting and amazing? It will not. I mean, if you want to kill somebody, it doesn't seem to do it for you. But Joshua P. Warren calls it the wishing machine. He sells a boatload of them. I call it the opportunity machine. It gives you opportunities. Now, you still have to work. I mean, it doesn't, you know, it's not like FedEx comes in and brings me an envelope full of dollar bills. You still have to work. It's not just automatic, but it gives you opportunities. And if you want to take advantage of them, good. You know, and it's like I'm getting opportunities that aren't the way they used to be. I was talking to a guy about, I just happened to mention that I sell annuities yesterday at the car place and where I was buying some oil. He said, we tried to get one. Do you still have to do 10,000? I said, yeah, minimum. Then he said, well, now in the last 2 years, has the market gone up so that my 401k probably has it? I said, absolutely. I said, I'll check and I'll give you a quote on Monday. I mean, nobody's ever asked me for an annuity in 2.5 years. Nobody. It just like came out of the blue. I mean, this is the kind of stuff. I mean, so I'm going to have to work on it. I'm going to have to get him a quote. I'm going to have to go through the whole dog and pony show. But I want to because I'll make pretty good money selling that annuity. And it's the right thing for him, too, at his age. And with the amount of money that he and his wife have, I think it's perfect for them. So, you know, it's a matter of you need to stay legit when you use this thing. But I'll swear, I got 3 of them going. My first one I bought, and I wanted it to, I shouldn't be telling this, but I'm going to anyway. My first one I bought to help me with the North Carolina Bigfoot Conference. 3.5 hours later, so he programs it. 3.5 hours later, I'm driving in my car, and I got a random phone call. Somebody wanted to know that was I planning a Bigfoot conference in North Carolina. That's unreal. That shouldn't be happening. I mean, that shouldn't be happening. I mean, I'm just saying it presents opportunities to you. And I wrote down their name. They ended up coming. They bought 2 tickets. So what I'm saying is it really does seem to produce opportunities. It seems to be broadcasting something out into the ether. Now, okay, the dean of the science school where I used to work would look at me and ask me which institution did I want to be put in because I had lost my mind. Of course, he does research on butterflies. Okay, I'm trying to make a living and I'm trying to help people with what I got. So anyway, I'm in Myrtle Beach. And that gives me some reason, you know, we can be a little crazy in Myrtle Beach. Now, Pork, I don't know. Do you really know about Myrtle Beach? It's kind of like Gatlinburg by the sea. It's kind of a little bit of a rednecky kind of place, you know, and people are a little crazy. So it's okay. Michael, I'm sure you know about Myrtle Beach, right?
I just know of it, yeah. Where was it that Edgar Casey was? Was that at Myrtle Beach?
Edgar Casey was at Virginia Beach, Virginia.
Virginia Beach, that's it, Virginia Beach.
61st Avenue in Atlantic. Yes. I'll never forget being up there talking to the guy that did the websites. And I'm standing there in the middle of his office. It was a nice Friday afternoon. And somebody put their hand on my shoulder. And I turned around and no one was there. I said, Bob, why did somebody just put their hand on my shoulder? He said, oh, that's Edgar. That means he likes you.
Wow.
Yeah. To this day. And I was at the hospital. When I went to the hospital Friday, I'm sitting there giving the girl my cards, you know, my insurance cards and all this stuff. And a friendly hand got put on my shoulder. And I knew there was nobody behind me. And I mean, you know, I get this stuff all the time. It's great. It let me know that I was going to be okay and not to worry. That's what it was. It was just a pat on the back. So there's, you know, you mentioned Edgar Casey. Yeah, I got a connection with Edgar. He put his hand on my shoulder, on my right shoulder. It was cool. Bob said, oh, he does that to people that he likes. So I said, good. I'm glad he did it to me. So anyway, I guess that's probably all the stories I got. That's the radionics machine. Contact me. Just go to Scarycast on Facebook and send me a message and I'll get up with you if you want a radionics machine. They're phenomenal, I think. So I've got one working on this project, one on this project. This one's working on another project. This project here seems to be going just fine. I mean, I keep getting the most amazing opportunities with the project that this one's dedicated for. And I got 2 more coming. You get 1 per project. And the longer you have them, the
Well,
more
John, you gotta get in touch with Brian here after the show, and make sure you load him up with all your information and your data. So when this hits the YouTube, there'll be, you know, where you can buy the book and where you can buy the radionics, and you know how to get in touch with you and all that kind of stuff.
all that stuff. Let me get it to you tomorrow because I've got to get ready for it. I've got to go out and work for about 4 hours. And then I've got another podcast tonight. So let me get it to you tomorrow because Friday's kind of a down day. And that's when I take care of that stuff. Is that all right?
Absolutely.
I just want to let you know that you're a special person. I mean, there's like 4 or 5 million, 6 million people who are into Sasquatch and they watch videos and stuff, but we're in the category of the people who are friends with Sasquatch and having a relationship with Sasquatch. We're rare. I'd be surprised if there was just around 1,000 people who are actually having a day-to-day, weekly to weekly experiences with the Sasquatch because they're friends. And that makes you a unique person. I mean, I'm really glad you came on the show. And
it makes Robin
Yeah.
a unique person because she does too. She has them every day.
well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. And there's not that many of us out there. We're a small pool. It's a small pool.
We're just doing our thing, and I don't even think about it. I just go on and I acknowledge it and go on. And gentlemen, this has been the most fun. This is the first time I've been on a show where I could just talk about what I wanted to talk about. And I really appreciate the opportunity, and I hope sometime you'll let me come back.
All right.
Absolutely.
I'll keep in touch.
Absolutely.
I'll let you know when I've got. Do you ever do topics other than Bigfoot?
Yeah, we got a near death experience guy coming on in about a month. But yeah,
He was a demon killer. That was kind of interesting.
All right. Well, I'm going to propose something. You can tell me later, but I'm going to propose that me and Mark Sargent come on when we get our book done. It's called Flat or Round ? And I have issues and problems with both theories, and we're going to talk about that in the book. I've got the outline for the book. I finally got it together, and we're working hard because we're going to have it available at Flattober. That's the celebration of the flat earth in Las Vegas, the third weekend in October. And we're going to have it ready and on sale, and we're going to be talking about it, and it's going to be a blast. I don't care what anybody says about the flat earth. It's simply a theory just like the round earth is. I mean, we don't know. Do we really know? There's so much that we take for granted, but we really don't know. The more you think about it, I mean, why does dishwashing detergent foam? There are theories. They know how to make it, but they don't really know why it foams. They just know that certain combination of chemicals and pressure from water makes it foam. They know that, but they really don't know why. And there's a lot of the whys we don't know. And I think that if you explore them in an interesting and fun way, it's good for your soul. Do you agree with
absolutely.
that?
Yeah, 100%.
And I got to talk about Bigfoot today for 3 hours. This is great. I mean, this is the most fun.
The world's more magic than people are willing to really open up to. It's a pretty magic place.
Oh, nothing. Why do you think I do 3 scary casts a week?
Really,
Why do you think one of my best friends in the world is out in Arizona? I've never met him. I call him about 4 times a week. I check on him, make sure his mother's doing okay. It's Ryan Tremblay, who's the host of Monster Radio. He's just a marvelous friend. And he's just another one of these people that I just kind of randomly met in this paranormal world. He's a quality guy.
Yeah, I don't
Robin, and then y'all. It's great.
I would say randomly, if you go like snicker, I don't believe we meet these people randomly at all. And I'm sure you think that too.
I agree. I mean, I don't think everything's predetermined, but I think the possibility of a relationship with anybody because of what you are doing and what they are doing reaches a tipping point and it tips over and you meet them.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? It's like.
Well, I mean, yeah. I mean, because it's like, like that machine that attracts the Sasquatch, you're probably trying to attract them on their frequency, right? Yeah. That's how it works. Is that how it works? So it's the same thing with people like are open to Sasquatch or paranormal or kind of people who have the interest like us. We attract each other, and it's like attract like, right? And I think the more you wake up and kind of this what do you want to call it, awakening, or I don't like to use those catchphrases, but when people open their hearts and wake up and start realizing who they are, whatever, they realize that coincidence is just kind of like, it's not something you really prescribe to. I believe in free will, but I believe that things are put in your path by, not by chance so much.
Well, I believe in the tipping. This is not Malcolm Gladwell's book, Tipping Point. No. This is about, I think it's a combination of what time stream that you're both in. If you're both in the same time stream,
yeah,
and you're both doing things that they somehow put you together. That's what I think. And maybe I'm wrong, but maybe I'm right. But I may be right in this time stream, but I may be wrong in another time stream.
Yeah.
Now, and I do want to come on here, and I want to talk about Dr. Ron Bryan's theory of the universe and how it's built, and the three envelope experiment of Joe McMoneagle. I think one of the most phenomenal things ever done, and it doesn't get enough. I like to give publicity to things that people don't normally get to hear, like radionics. I think radionics is fun. Works for me. Doesn't work for some people.
Oh, was he the great psychic of the remote viewing? Was that him?
Who?
Joe McMoneagle. What's his name?
Joe McMoneagle.
Yeah, McMoneagle. He was
Ingo Swann and Russell Targ were on the Stargate project together at Stanford Research Institute. They were psychically snooping Russia, North Korea, and some of these other things. And they were phenomenally successful. Now, the military just made an announcement. Well, we're shutting this down. That was just an announcement. It didn't change the fact that they're still running Stargate. They just got too much publicity. And Ingo Swann is kind of like a spiritual friend. I think he was a womanizer. He was a drunk. He was the damn finest psychic that may have ever lived. Quote Joe McMoneagle. Joe McMoneagle married Mr. Monroe's daughter of the Monroe Institute, and they live up in Charlottesville, Virginia. And I got to have breakfast with him. And I mean, Joe McMoneagle is a phenomenal human being. Sally Ryan Feather made it a point for me because I told her one time I'd love to meet Joe and have breakfast with him. So she made sure it happened. And but Joe told me that Ingo Swann was the greatest remote viewer and psychic in history. And he's right. And I've lived by his book, Penetration. It's about his psychic experiences, because that's what he called it. He called it penetrating and going in and seeing what was going on. Now, Robin McCRAY, pretty darn good remote viewer now. I'm going to tell you that. And that story about the Bigfoots, when she piped up the next morning and told me what she did, you know what I said? I hung up the phone and I said, I always knew she was good, but I didn't know she could be that good. She was great. I did, and I told her that. And I said, and I appreciate that.
A Sasquatch consultant from many, many people, thousands, not thousands, but like lots of people call her up for advice and connect. And what did they say and what was happening here?
Well, she's really a consultant for everybody because she helps with other problems. She helps me analyze. I had a friend, thought they were a friend, heard they were sick. So I asked one medical intuitive who I trust with my life, and I have trusted with my life and has used their advice. And they said, all right, I'm going to tell you what they're feeling. But that wasn't what I wanted. I wanted to know the situation. I called up Rob and she said, all right, I'm going to sleep on it. In the morning, she called me back. She said, they're lying. They're fine. I don't know what's going on, but they're lying. They're fine. And they just wanted to get out of town. Something's happened up here. And the heat was getting too hot in the furnace. And I said, that's what I thought. And come to find out, they were both right. The medical intuitive told me what was wrong with the person. And Robin and I both figured out simultaneously that, whatever. No, Robin's really good. And she's very open. She'll help anybody. The Lord put her down here to be found and to help people that need help. And so I can put you in touch with Robin. Just please give her a donation because she doesn't charge anything for this. So she's a wonderful, wonderful person. And so is her husband, Pat. They're really some of the best friends anybody could ever have. So that's what I think about Robin. How's that? And I've met a few.
Sounds about right.
That's about right. She's the best. And she told me you guys were great. And now I'm going to tell you a secret. Are you ready? I have wanted to be on your show for 2 years.
I think
really?
We tried to set up one time, but then it got crosswires.
I know. And I said, golly, I hate that. I wanted to be on there. I want to be on there. And I happened to be thinking about it one day. And the next day, Robin called me. She said, have you ever thought about going on Pork and Beans? I tried to be real cool. I said, well, yeah, I think it'd be nice. So I didn't want to act like such an idiot. I didn't want to act like such a 12-year-old, although I act like 12-year-olds sometimes. No, it was great. But I've wanted to be on your show for a long, long time. And I'm glad I was. It was fun.
You have your book there somewhere? Within reach?
No. Why?
Because you can stick the book up and say, here's my book. That's why.
Okay. No, I don't. All the copies are downstairs in my car.
All right. Well,
they're in a box in the
call it a night.
Because I'll tell you, I tend to give some of them away because I like people to have them. I mean, purpose of that book was not to make money. The purpose was to, actually, I've got 5 books. I do have one on Amazon right now. It's called Lizard Man Companion. It's one of the most heavily researched books on a paranormal phenomenon ever. It has all 14 of the police reports from 1988 and 1989 from the Lee County Observer in Bishopville, South Carolina. And honestly, it is better researched than my dissertation, which was a monster. It was a great dissertation at NC State. But I'll tell you, I love Lizard Man Companion. Go buy that. It's $13. It's on Kindle. And I love that book. And it tells all about the Lizard Man. It has all those newspaper stories. It has interviews with people in the town. It doesn't say yes or no about the Lizard Man, but I found out all the back information that I could. I found out that there have been 3 times in the last century that lizard people have been seen in Lee County. One was in 1988, 89. One was in the 30s, and one was in like 1910. And the whole deal is it's seen during extremely hot conditions and extremely dry conditions, because what happens is rivers and lakes start contracting and seawater comes in and it pushes stuff upstream. So those 3 times during the last century, stuff got pushed upstream into Scape-Ore Swamp. That seems to be a big collecting point in the middle of South Carolina. So that's why we have it. And I thought this summer was going to be amazingly hot. And so did, y'all know Ed Edwards?
I think so.
Oh, Ed Edwards is amazing. I was standing at my computer. He said, Johnny, I'm going to show you something. He's down in Florida. He knocked me down in Myrtle Beach. Oh, he's the best. But even both Ed and I were talking, and we said that we thought this was going to be the hottest summer on record. But, we can always be wrong. In some time stream, it is the hottest summer on record. But in the one we're in right now, it's okay. It's just summer, which is fine with me. I don't want it to be so hot. But anyway, just met a lot of great people.
Had a lot of public radio today that this is the hottest summer. And a lot of people say this is the hottest month in recorded history. So
really?
That was said today on public broadcast, on PBS.
You're kidding, because that's what Ed and I said about 2 years ago. And I didn't realize it was that hot. In fact, it's not that hot. I mean, we're localized not so hot here in Myrtle Beach.
Yeah, you're right on the coast. I'm on the coast too in Savannah, but I just walked outside and it was crispy out there.
Well, it was like, yesterday was the first day it got to 98 degrees. And that's fairly cool. Normally it's going to get in the 90s, and it's going to be probably 100 degrees over 4th of July a lot of times. And it just hasn't been, which has been, fairly pleasant. So anyway, well, I guess maybe we predicted right, but we predicted Our prediction was 2 years ago. We said that this was going to be the hottest summer on record. Anyway, whatever.
Yep. All righty. Well, we will definitely have you back on again. And thanks for stopping by. And we enjoyed you and Robin. And I'm sure we got lots more to talk about next time as well.
Okay, buddy. Thank you.
All right. So on behalf of Port Cunningham and the world's handsomest man, it's been the Pork and Bean Show. Thanks to Dr. John Stamey. Thanks to Robin McCRAY, as always. And thanks to everybody who's watching out in the internet land.
Facebook land.
Yep. All right. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you next time.
Bye, y'all.